Better, better to start her a little early than the debacles we've had lately, eh, Mr. Beans?
I think that was Sasquatch and interference last time.
Yeah, something was going on. We couldn't get. Yeah, we had a.
So we could get rolling, but you couldn't, and that's never happened before.
No.
You were excluded. I mean, we were so close, but anyway.
So hey everybody, welcome to the show. My name is Port Cunningham. I'm here with my distinguished, honorable co-host, the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver Beans. Remember this? You got to frame that. You're not doing that. Beans, world's handsomest man. He doesn't. He doesn't do any of the routines that we work out. You know, and then I just look like a dummy. Anyway.
Good choreography.
Yeah, I get you to do it for me. What does that mean?
Vogue.
You know, like you're like a picture perfect. The world's handsomest man, and then you do this. Picture perfect.
Blue still.
Anyway, we are joined today with Jessica Jones.
Jessica,
how are you doing?
Jones.
Hey everybody. I'm doing excellent. Very good. Thank you for having me.
So tell us about Jessica Jones. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
The queen of all media.
Yeah, well, I'm Jessica Jones, everybody. I am originally, I guess I'm a Bigfoot field researcher out of Georgia. And I started off as a Bigfoot field researcher, but it turned into so much more because we, being out in the field, we encountered everything from UFOs, aliens, portals, interdimensionals, you name it. We've encountered it with one of my teams. I'm a member of 3 different teams when it comes to the paranormal investigating. And I had not gone public with any of my research. I actually have been doing this for 11 years out in the field and didn't go public until August. So, and now here I am on your show tonight and talking about it. I actually have, I have 2 or 3 different shows that I do on cryptids right now. So you might see me on YouTube. I have a channel called The Cryptid Huntress, and all my shows air live there. I'm actually a remote viewer. My team is trained in remote viewing.
Whole team. How many is in your team?
The whole team. Well, I have 3 different teams, but the core group team, there's probably about 15 of us, I guess. Something like that, give or take.
So cutting edge. This is cutting edge.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've been doing this for, like I said, 11 years. And
you've been doing the remote viewing for 11 years?
I have.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Holy moly. I'm so glad you're on our show.
Yeah.
That's like the future is now.
You know what? It is pretty awesome. I have a lot of fun doing it. It's actually my hobby. And I didn't know that it's such a big deal, to people. I do it for fun.
My son does remote viewing too.
Oh, cool. Very
mostly
cool.
Mostly about Bitcoins and stuff, but he gets other little stuff,
Yeah. Well, you can use it for anything. And, we use it in the field. We started training in remote viewing because we were having incidents happen out in the field that we could not explain. And, when you're a bunch of Bigfoot field researchers and you have UFOs flying over your head and you have missing time and you have your equipment malfunctioning and giving you different times with every different person on the team, and phones exploding and all that kind of weird stuff, things just got real wonky out there. And so we thought,
You said what was exploding?
Phones going bad and things like that, just electronics in general. And it was important for us to know what was really going on. And the head of my team is a very, very amazing remote viewer. And so he taught the entire team. And, we don't do it all the time now. I'm the one person that really loves it so much and I do it all the time. I actually even have a show that I do every Friday night called Remote Viewing Investigations with Jessica. And I've been looking into alleged paranormal attacks, like dogman attacks and the Bell Witch and the Dyatlov Pass incident and the Beast of LBL. And, this week, tomorrow night, I'm doing the Dark Pyramid in Alaska. I've remote viewed that. So it's pretty fun. I use it for that. And also, sometimes there'll be missing people and I'll get a target to try to help solve a cold case or find a missing person. So,
And you got Dr. Courtney Brown living in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So, oh my God. And he's like one of the, big shots of remote viewing, and a guy I personally respect.
Yeah, I have not met him before, but he is, I have seen his YouTube videos and have followed him and his crowd. So yeah, absolutely. He's around Atlanta somewhere.
Well, I'm so glad you're on the show because, you take the Sasquatch people, and so much about them is mysterious and paranormal. I mean, there's no question about the paranormal. And we've been doing this show for like what, 2 years now, Brian? Mr. Port?
3 years.
3 years. Okay, we're in our third year, and I felt from the beginning like if you don't have somebody on your team who's either psychic or does remote viewing, you're just not going to get the whole story. You're not going to get
right.
And here it is. I think I don't know what it is. They got this scientific thing, but if anything's been investigated by science, it's remote viewing. I mean, it's the whole thing is one giant science experiment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all set up like that way. That's the whole protocols. If you do the standard protocols.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing. And the information you get is, can be ranked up as high as 90%. If you got 3 or 4 remote viewers, you can get real granular, real accurate with your information that you discover. So good on you. It's about time. It's about time somebody in the Sasquatch world, the paranormal cryptid world, has good quality remote viewing stuff going on.
Yeah. Well, my team is very private, and so we don't talk about the things that we do so much. Like I said, I'm a member of 3 different teams, and of those 3 teams, only one of them really goes public with their research. So that's what I've been able to talk about. And that's really why I agreed to speak at a conference last year. And I started, talking, and that got me somehow I was asked to be on podcasts and shows, and I was given my own show, about Into the Portal on KGRA. I did that since October of last year. I just recently retired that show, and I'm moving to Spaced Out Radio this weekend. So, yay. So I'm excited about that. But, one of my teammates, Trey Hudson, he's out of Alabama. He's one of my, the heads of one of my teams, and he wrote a book that you guys might be familiar with. It's called The Meadow Project. I had to think for a second. The Meadow Project, Explorations into the South Skinwalker Ranch. And that is about my team's research out in the field. So as soon as he wrote that book, it was kind of a green light. So I could talk about some of our research because I'm in that book with my, with some of the things that happened to me out there. So that's that. And Trey's a remote viewer as well. And a lot of people on that team are part of my original team, and we work with everybody. So, I'm based out of Georgia, but I research all over the South. So I'm everywhere from, Florida to Alabama to North Carolina to Tennessee. I go out with people from Virginia and, South Carolina, everybody from all over the place. And we have a really good time. And number one, I have fun out there. But number 2, we do some pretty good research, and like I said, we don't talk about everything that we go out there do, especially my remote viewing team. They're pretty on the low with stuff that we do because it's all about the integrity of our research, and not giving locations away and things like that, But yeah, it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. We have an interesting time out there.
Did you you said you looked into a few famous cases like the Bell Witch thing? Do you want to share a few of the findings you found of some of the more interesting ones that we might like?
Sure, I have all my files right here beside me, actually. But I can just tell
Yeah,
you
give us
just
a
a
couple
memory.
of your best remote viewing discoveries or whatever.
Yeah,
You know what I would like to do if I was remote viewing, I'd go back and say like who was Jack the Ripper and stuff, and those kind of
right.
things, right? You
You
know,
know, and that might be something that I do a show on soon. I mean, who knows? I've had to kind of spread it out where only every other weekend I do a bloody murder case. And then every other weekend from that, I do something fun like the pyramids,
yeah.
and the Bell Witch. There was a death involved in the Bell Witch, though. John Bell was rumored to have been poisoned by a witch, an unseen force that was haunting him and his family. And it was said to be old, what was her name? I forgot. It was a lady that he had a dispute with. Was said to be her name was Kate Batts. Kate Batts, and she did not like John Bell, and so she said on her deathbed that she was going to curse him and his family for a land dispute that they had. And shortly after she died, well, I think she was still alive, so they kind of ruled that out, that it would have been her doing this haunting. But it was written. See, the thing about it is there were books written about this case, or a book written about the case, so that's where everybody was getting a lot of the story from. And there was some controversy behind it because people didn't know, well, what's real and what's not, So I looked into it because it was rumored that, or written that Andrew Jackson had taken a group of men who one of them was an actual witch hunter with a gun that had silver bullets in it to kill witches in it. And on the way to the Bell property, they had some supernatural things happen to them where their buggy got stuck and the horses wouldn't move. And they were hearing voices coming out of the bushes, with no body there. It was just a voice of an old lady telling them that she'd see them tonight, things like that. Well, I looked into this, and I can say that, yes, this family was absolutely haunted. And it was a true story. This is something that there's actually a historical marker there on the Bell property, and it's actually like in the Library of Congress. I mean, there's some sort of history, that's written history for the United States of America as being a very haunted location. All right, so looked into it. It was definitely a haunting. The family was haunted, but it wasn't by old Kate Batts. It was a very old ancient entity, like an energy that was on that land. Okay. And something had conjured this up. Well, see, I didn't know when I was remote viewing this that John Bell was a slave owner. Okay. I didn't realize that he was a very wealthy man and had a large farm. And so he came from North Carolina and brought his family to Tennessee. This is where the Bell Witch is, the Bell property. And so when he came, he brought slaves with him, and he had a bunch of slaves on his plantation. Well, in my data, I kept getting voodoo. It was voodoo. There was voodoo involved and black magic and all this stuff. And it was a little confusing because I didn't understand why there was so much voodoo coming up in the data. Well, it turns out he had slaves there. And a lot of times, historically speaking, some of slaves sometimes would practice Santeria, and voodoo kind of stuff. Well, the Kate Batts, the woman that was mad at him, she never went anywhere without she owned slaves as well. And she always had 3 of them by her side. And so I looked into it. It seemed as though she might have actually really had someone there that worked with her. I guess you say worked with her, curse him. And so there was a curse, but there was something that was conjured up on his property that really did haunt the family. So I was able to see that in my remote viewing. Now, the part that was written in the books and everybody hears about is that John Bell was poisoned by something. And it was a voice that came through that said it was, Kate Batts said it was her. Well, there was an entity pretending to be Kate Batts, according to my data. And, just like you hear on these ghost shows where they're saying, well, there's a little girl, but it's not really a little girl, it's a demon, That's kind of what was happening there on their property. There was something that was pretending to be that lady. And but in the end, I did not pick up that he was poisoned. He had had a heart attack. So that was the only thing that was a little bit different, was that he didn't die through poisoning. It was a heart attack. And I think he might have fallen and hit his head as well. But nonetheless, it's a very interesting story. They say that people that go there today, it's a tourist site. And if you go and you pick up a rock out of the Bell Witch Cave, you go home and your entire life falls apart. It's cursed. Okay. So if you bring home a pebble or a rock, you might lose your home, or somebody in your family could die, or you lose your pet or your job or something, because they have reports that happens even to this day. So, don't pick up rocks from that place, anybody. I don't. I would not. And and I actually like to pick up quartz. I love to collect quartz rock from all the places that I investigate with our Bigfooting and our paranormal stuff that we do. And I bring it home and give it to my son. Well, now that makes me think twice, like, well, maybe I shouldn't be taking that rock from all these haunted locations we're going to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you didn't take one from there, though, at least, right?
I've never been there. I haven't been there. Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Could you, before we just completely go into all kind of stories, could you tell the audience a little bit about what remote viewing is and how it works?
Yeah.
Is that too big?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, remote viewing is a way to locate a target, with a lack of a better term, psychically. Okay. It's using, it's basically pulling information out of the matrix to locate a target. Okay. Now there's different modes of remote viewing. And back during the Cold War and, in previous years, governments across the world, especially Russia and the United States, were using it. They trained soldiers in this to be psychic spies. Okay. So there was psychic spies in Russia and in the United States. I personally have been taught different modes of remote viewing. The one that I use the most is called coordinate remote viewing. Okay. Because it's to me, it's the easiest. And it's the most kind of scientific, if you want to put it that way. It's, I'm given a set of numbers, random numbers. Okay. I think at some point they were using coordinates like latitude and longitude numbers to locate areas and locations. Well, I'm getting targets that can range anywhere from, let's say, a practice target. Like I'm being asked to locate the Statue of Liberty. Okay. And to describe it. I'm given a set of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, 8, 2. Okay. Most of the time, I have no idea what those numbers are. They're just random numbers. And I'm given what we call a blind target. Okay. So those numbers have a meaning behind them. They have an intention set behind them. Like, this is your target. See, I don't know that at the time that it's the Statue of Liberty. I just know there's 4 numbers sitting in front of me. And so I sit down and I get my pen out and my paper, some blank sheets of paper, and we chart out a place to put everything, any kind of sensory data that comes to us or to me. I'm going to write it down, and it's got a place to put everything from the minute that my pen hits the paper and I write those numbers down. I draw out some ideograms, I sketch a little drawing, and any word, any kind of feeling, any smell, anything I hear, taste, anything, any song lyrics that come on in my head, I write it all down. And after several pages of data of writing, I have a target, and I can pretty much figure out what my target was. And so that's basically, in a nutshell, what remote viewing is. A lot of times you don't know what you're looking at.
And how does it work?
Well, I'm basically pulling information out of the matrix.
And where is that?
It's just all around me.
Can you go forward in time and backwards in time? You
can go forward, backwards, present moment. Yes. You can go off planet, on planet, wherever. You pretty much, from what I've been told, is that you cannot hide from a remote viewer. Okay.
I've heard that the more you hide, the bigger it's easier it is to see.
Yeah. Well, I don't go around hunting down for, people that are alive, looking for people. Usually everyone that I've ever been tasked to remote view was missing or deceased. Okay. And it was a cold case or something. And it was basically trying to see if these people are alive and where they are, where their body is, just for the family or whatever. So, or what happened to them. So yeah, that
And
kind of stuff.
this is obviously a very sophisticated psychic ability that evidently everybody has, because the
Yes.
U.S. military tested thousands of soldiers and found out they could all do it if they used the protocol. Once they learned the protocol, they were getting it.
Absolutely.
Some better, some worse, but they were all getting it.
Yeah,
The other thing
anybody can do it.
The other thing I wanted to say is that since we're talking, this is a Sasquatch show, and among other things, is that it's pretty sure, you can be pretty sure that the Sasquatch use remote viewing too. They use their own form of it, and they know when you're coming to the woods.
Yes.
Yeah. So to me, well, I heard this one guy who was he had a big remote viewing school, and there's billions of dollars. Let everybody out there. This is a multi-billion, multinational thing going on here. It's a huge thing, because every intelligence agency, every military in the world, every government in the world, they all use remote viewing now. They didn't used to, but they do now. So this is like about as mainline as you can get. But anyway, this one guy, he was doing an interview, and he was just talking, because he was one of the historic kind of guys of the remote viewing. And he was just talking along about, remote viewing, this and that. And then at one point, he just sort of stopped. He said, remote viewing isn't remote, and it's not viewing. He said, what it is a feeling inside. And then you're talking about this matrix. What that means is we have the ability as human beings, and the Sasquatch have this ability too, to feel any point in time and space. And which the only way we can feel any point in time and space is if we're connected to all points of time and all points of space. And see, that's the reason why I wanted to set this down, is because we're just going to be talking about it like this is as normal as a piece of pie, right? It's an everyday thing for you guys. You've been doing it for 10 years, and
it's normal for me. Absolutely
normal, right? It's normal. So the paranormal became normal, right? So to me, this is just fabulous, because it's one of the big keys to begin to unlock the paranormal world, because the whole paranormal world is one thing. It still breaks down to a feeling inside,
Yeah. I mean, and everything's so connected, in my opinion. And from the very get-go, the first time I ever spoke publicly about my research and about being a Bigfooter, a lot of people didn't even know I did this stuff. And, I used to work in the government, actually. I was the executive director of a state agency here in Georgia. And, I haven't done that job in 7 years now, I guess about 7 or 8 years.
Hope it didn't have anything to do with the voting.
No, Lord, no. No, it didn't. It was a women's organization.
I moved to Georgia and found out that Georgia has the worst voting history in the whole entire nation. Unbelievable.
We've got some weird stuff going on there.
It's
it's paranormal.
It is paranormal. Yeah.
Yeah. It is weird.
Got a lot of dead people voting in Georgia.
That's what I'm saying. It's paranormal. They need some ghost hunters up in that office, don't they? But anyways, back to Bigfoot. Okay.
Governmental exorcism. You know what I mean? Just go into each department, do a little exorcism of the department.
They need some sage. If I were there, I would allot some money for sage to that department if I were the governor. Okay. But anyways, so I forgot what I was talking about, but it was something about me working in government. And
you were working in the government, and you weren't going to go into details about it, so it was just part of the story.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about going public and everything, I guess, and I totally got off track there. But working in government, I didn't want people to really know what I was doing, I guess. But and most of the people that I because there's a stigma to all of this, obviously.
Is that why you just went public like last August or something you said?
I went public in August because, well, first of all, my friend Trey had written a book. And so I knew that I kind of got the green light to talk about some things. And also a friend of mine invited me to go up and hang out with some people that were throwing a big conference here in Georgia called Camp Disclosure.
Oh,
and
really? Where was that?
It was in Helen, up in the mountains.
Wow. I went to the Clayton one. I think you spoke at the last Clayton one.
I did. I was just there about 2 weeks ago. I spoke at their big I spoke at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference a couple of weeks ago. I had a blast. I love Clayton. I got a lot of Bigfoots up there, by the way.
They gave me a mole.
Yeah,
At that conference. They gave me a mole.
they gave you a mole.
A dead mole, as a present.
Okay. Very nice.
You know, when you're driving into Clayton from the south, right? When you drive in and you pass the Home Depot.
Yes.
And then it's like the first motel. I was staying in the first motel on the right-hand side, just before the breakfast place. And so after the Clayton, Georgia thing, I thought, well, look, there's a little trail that goes up behind the motel. So I walked up that trail in flip-flops, and I saw this tree structures going on. I go, holy cow, there's tree structures right here on the road. Mm-hmm. So then I came back down and put on my other shoes and got my camera, went up there. I was going to photograph it. And it was like a real steep thing. So I walked up that little, just a little trail, because obviously the people up on the hill were walking down to go to the store and stuff. So I walked up and then I took a picture of this thing, and it's like 3 steps back from where I was. When you walk up, I had to look at the trail. You know, when it's really steep, you look right at the ground. So I was watching the trail the whole way up. And then I turned around after I took my little photographs, took my little video, and took 3 steps down, and there was a fresh, soft mole. You know, moles are only about that big. They're about the size of a big mouse. And I thought, well, they let me know what's going on. You know, they let me know that the Sasquatch who were friends of me here in Savannah knew that I was connected up there. So that was pretty cool.
I tell you, they know before you can head up there. I mean, I think they know. I mean, there's a telepathic, energetic connection there.
If they're friends with you, that they're mm-hmm. connected all the time.
Yeah. It's, you know, and my team, we go out and we've researched the same areas for years and years and years. So we have different areas that we go to that we have continuously gone to for many, many years. And some of those guys have been going there for way longer than I've known them, you know, different areas. So it's, there's a connection there, and not to say it's the same Bigfoots in the area all the time, but you know, who knows? I mean, I feel like they know us, because, you know, we get a good bit of activity, but I also think that's because of the type of people that are on my team, because every one of us are very psychically switched on. And I think we're just like beacons of light out there. You know, I think things are just kind of attracted to us. And being remote viewers, I think that helps. So who knows?
Absolutely. You know, there's a history behind this the paranormal thing and the awakening of consciousness. And the part of the history has to do with Ray Hernandez and Dr. Rudy Shields, Mary Rodwell, who's been on the show, and Dr. Edgar Mitchell. Those 4 guys right there. My friend Ray Hernandez was driving in 2012 or 2013 in Miami, right? And the ETs took him out of his car, right? Out of his car as he's driving. So something's driving his car, and he's up there in this place, and they showed him this huge wheel. And this huge wheel was like he was in the middle of this huge wheel, and all the spokes on the wheel, right? And in between each of the spokes, there was like out-of-body experience, remote viewing, near-death experience, a psychedelic drug-induced experience, shamanism, what seances, then what is it with dowsing? It just kept going, you know, all the paranormal things that everybody thinks is separate. And I said, we want you to find out that to prove that all this is one. All those psychic phenomena is one thing. Yeah. You know? And that's what he set it up to do. They ended up doing the world's largest academic survey on ET encounters, which is all paranormal. The whole damn thing's paranormal. Is, you know.
So, I just remembered what I was going to say a while ago. I don't mean to interrupt, but I just remembered. It was just about how I came into the scene, right? And I was speaking at that conference. I let it all out there and let it be known that I absolutely believe that Bigfoot, Sasquatch are interdimensional beings. They're connected with UFOs and ETs and portals and everything. And so I just went ahead and put it out there, and I have gone like a bull in a china shop ever since. because that's my
I'm saying.
experience.
That's what I'm saying. There's this momentum that the ETs come down and listen. This thing was big. It's a huge survey that these guys did. 4,000 people. They got all this information. 90% of the people who go on the craft don't want it to stop. It's an elevation or a soul awakening, and you can have a near-death experience and have a spiritual awakening, or you can go on a craft and have a spiritual awakening, or you can go and visit a Sasquatch and have a spiritual awakening, because it'll wake you up because you're there on a higher vibration.
Yeah. Well, that's what I talk about a lot on my shows is how we're raising the consciousness of the planet one Bigfoot sighting at a time. Okay. Because what happens when people have their first encounter with a Sasquatch is that it jolts them into a whole new reality. Okay. So this little 3D matrix reality, this box that we've been taught to live in, this little square box, where we're living small and, obeying, living in fear and all that stuff. You completely bust out of it when you see something that's not supposed to be real. Okay. And so it's very traumatic for a lot of people. I've had some pretty traumatic experiences, but then again, I've been seeing ghosts since I was a kid, and I've even had up close and personal ET encounters. So
have you ever had a near-death experience?
No, not really.
Ask the guys that you do remote viewing with. I bet you're going to find about 25% of them have had a near, or some of them have multiple near-death experience.
Yeah, actually,
that's a factor, because that opens up people's psychic abilities like big time.
It does. See, I'm not aware that if I have or not. I don't recall ever having a near-death experience. I mean, there have been times where my life has flashed before my eyes. Okay. But I don't believe I actually died and like came back or anything like that. So, but I've definitely had experiences, and I come from a long line of people in my family who have had experiences. My great grandmother and my great aunt were driving in Rome, Georgia, which is up in the northwestern part of the state here in Georgia. They were driving one night on a highway, and they said that a light came down over their car. This was in the 1980s. A light came down over their car, and they don't remember anything except for I guess they kind of came to, like something, I guess they blacked out or something, and they came to, and they were, it was 2 hours later, it was an hour to 2 hours later, and they were about 10 to 20 miles down the road in another county driving.
Well, that's missing time. And it's also like a very classical description of an ET encounter, the light, and all of a sudden the car's not where it's supposed to be, and the time's not where it's supposed to be. Yeah. Interdimensional beings. That's pretty much what you have to like get in people's head, that it's that the whole of the phenomena can be looked at as an interdimensional experience. Well, and it's a physical thing too. There's physical overlay,
Well, then you got to wonder, like, what does it mean to be interdimensional, and what's the difference between that and interdimensional and astral travel, all this other stuff. I don't know. It's just a big kind of blur for me, because my team has actually experienced what we consider to be a portal. Okay, an actual portal documented in the field, to where two of my teammates were sent into it or to go check it out, and they completely disappeared off of the heat signature, disappeared off of the FLIR. And then they said the entire environment changed, and then they had enough wherewithal to turn around and walk backwards the way they came, opposite of where they walked in. They didn't see this thing. It was naked. It was invisible to the naked eye. Okay. But they were guided in by people watching them through their FLIRs and thermals, and they disappeared, and they came back out, and the thing that it was shaped like a box, a big cube. And this thing moved, and it got smaller, and then it moved away, and it disappeared. So when the environment changed, they said that they couldn't see the stars anymore, that it was like walking into a thick velvet curtain, and the temperature changed a little bit, and the vegetation on the ground changed, and they knew there was something off, both of them. And they're both former, military guys, and they were trained to notice subtleties in environment changes, and so they walked back out.
The stars being gone from the sky, that's a big tell.
It is.
Are we in a different universe? There's no stars in this universe.
But see, but to me, you have to think now, I've had enough time. That happened a couple of years ago, and we've had enough time to think about it and look into it a little bit. And is that what being interdimensional is? Was that alien technology? Was it military and government? Is that where these missing people are going out of our national parks? Are they just walking into these invisible cubes and then being taken somewhere?
Well, I don't know if you know this lady named Cindy Carter, right? Cindy Carter, I think that's her name. She was on our show. She used to, when she had her awakening. It was a really profound awakening, and then she left her home and her kids and everything, just took off and went to be a shaman, right? And the shaman showed her how to open up the portals, and she got hooked up with actually some of the three-letter boys, the three-letter agency people. And they found out about her, and she would go out into the woods and open up portals. And I thought that was hilarious, because I said, that's all you're going to get in there is bliss. If you're tuned in, you're going to get bliss, because that's what it's pretty much what it's all about. And she said, yeah. She said that they weren't going to find anything nefarious, but that they were all excited about it. So there's people out there who can open up those portals or
Absolutely.
find them.
I believe they do. But I think that there's different types of portals out there, because what we saw and what we encountered, to me, in my opinion, I don't think that was natural. I don't think it was like a natural portal. I think whatever that means, it seemed to be some sort of technology, in my opinion. Did it come down to specifically try to take some people, or was it just there? There's way more questions than answers. Okay, we have way more questions, and we have not.
The Rama people, who are the people they have connected to the ET people, they do this thing in Mount Shasta every year, and they call in a portal, right?
Yeah.
And they got set up with their friends who are the ET people, right? And the portal is the size of a drive-in movie theater.
Yeah.
Right. And there's like literally hundreds of ET guys on one side of this, inside the portal, and it takes all the people who'd be like maybe 50 or so of the CE5 people. So that's just phenomenal. You know what I mean? That is a, what do you call a contact modality?
Yeah. It's weird, right?
it's weird, but the paranormal is becoming normal. And just because we don't run into it every day, or we're not on the energy frequency to see it or feel it, doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah, that's right. And, and that's one thing that I talk about too a lot is, raising your vibration, and how these encounters with the cryptids are really, like I said, it could be traumatic, but it's also raising the consciousness of the planet. And that is exactly what's needed right now. Because the more your mind is open and you expand your consciousness, the less easily controlled you are. Okay. Right. So,
hallelujah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So
the less sage you need.
You started in what, 2012 or 11, you said?
11. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you first went into looking into Sasquatch, did you think that they were like just big monkeys running around in the woods, or what did you think they were, and what changed your mind? And I'm gonna go grab another coffee. So just
absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us, because like you probably thought they were just like mountain or what?
Exactly. Everything that I thought I knew was wrong. Okay.
Okay. Tell us how you went in, and how your kind of progression went when you say, wait a minute.
Okay.
These guys are way more than Magilla gorilla.
It's way more than a big hairy primate running around the woods.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll start off by telling you how I kind of got into Bigfooting, because it kind of came across my path, as does everything that I've ever done in my life. And so I was, my mom was going to these weekly meetups at a friend's house on Wednesday nights in Marietta, Georgia, okay, at Mr. Sam's house. And every Wednesday they would have a speaker there that would talk about paranormal stuff or metaphysical things or survivalist or gold and silver and Bitcoin or whatever. And so my mom would go, and I would go with her sometimes. And she called me up and said, hey, we've got a Bigfoot field research team coming in to talk about their Bigfoot field research. I think you'd like it. You should come. So I went with my mom. And I just want to know if Bigfoot's real, because I'd grown up seeing ghosts. I spent my evenings as a kid looking to the sky at UFOs. I grew up on a farm. I could see the sky really well. So, I've always been interested in this stuff. And I went, and these fellas were from a group called Enigma Research Group, and they were totally, I could tell they were telling the truth, and they were absolutely very dedicated to field research and believed in what they were doing. They had some amazing evidence. And so I had all those questions, like, well, why have y'all not found a body? Where are the bodies at? And wouldn't there be Bigfoot poop everywhere? Things like that. And they were happy to answer my questions, and after the presentation, I talked to them some more, and they actually invited me to go out on an expedition with them in a couple weeks or couple months or something. And so of course I decided, well, what better way to figure out if Bigfoot's real than to go into the woods with a bunch of strange men by myself and go see for myself. And so I went and bought a tent and some hiking boots and some gear, and I met them in the woods, and I spent a weekend on an expedition with them. And it was the best decision I ever made, because I'm here today because of it. Honestly, it really changed my life in a lot of ways. It changed my perspective on a lot of things. Now, I went out there thinking that I was going to be looking for a big hairy primate in the woods, a part man, part gorilla. Okay, that's what I was thinking. And so I went out there kind of with I'm the kind of person that has a very open mind. So like I didn't have a whole lot of expectations, but I had a lot of curiosity. Okay. So I was just curious to see what would happen. And I knew, like, hey, if I don't have a Bigfoot experience, at least I'll have fun camping, and I'll meet some new friends, and it'll be fun. People that are like-minded, that are open-minded. And so I went out there that one weekend, and it was like all hell broke loose in a good way, because not only did we have Bigfoot activity, but we had UFO activity. Okay.
Wow.
We had possible alien stuff going on. We had trickster spirits in the base camp. We had so much stuff going on that weekend that, I was actually, I volunteered to be bait. If y'all know what that is, it's where, for the people listening who don't know what bait is, if, a lot of the newbies, when you first go out on
that's when the male researchers run out of fun ideas to figure out how to connect. And they thought, like, let's let a girl do it.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's almost like to send me out by myself to lure the Bigfoots out, and the guys will sit back and watch through their thermal imaging devices to make sure nothing gets me. Okay. And if it does, at least they can tell my mom where I went. Okay. So, but I did that. I was bait. I had someone dare me to be bait, actually. And so I volunteered. I said yes. And I was walking on an open field, and it was about the size of a football field up to the tree line, like the distance. And so I decided just to put on my big girl pants, and I started walking by myself. And I thought, I just had to be brave, and I wanted to get the full experience of a Bigfooting outing. Okay. So I started walking up this hill, and I got halfway up the hill, and something ran up behind me. And I thought it was one of the guys scaring me. I thought that it was somebody that was there to try to pull a prank on me. Okay. Because something swept the back of my legs out from underneath me. And then it was like an energy, and it kept going past me. So it was like the size of a person. You didn't fall down though, right? It tripped me up to where my arms floated up in the air, and I lost my balance, and I kind of jumped in the air, but I didn't fall down. But something absolutely knocked my legs out from underneath me. It just kind of swept my legs. And I looked, and I thought there was surely going to be somebody behind me, but there was nobody there. So it took me a second, and I thought, okay, well, that was weird. Okay, I'm just going to keep walking. So I just kept walking up to the tree line, and someone, I guess they had seen me throw my arms up in the air, and they wanted to make sure I was okay, because they didn't catch anything on their devices. There was nothing there. So I even went back and I checked to make sure there were no briars or like a log or something that I could have tripped over. There was nothing there. But one of the guys walked up to make sure I was okay, and I told him kind of what happened, and we sat there, and one of the guys was actually watching a Bigfoot peek around a tree the whole time as I was standing right in front of that tree line where I had gone to that night. So
this is your first night out, first
yes.
expedition.
Yes.
There was sightings and an invisible something
invisible. Yeah.
Something invisible.
Mm-hmm.
There was had enough presence where you could feel the air and knocked you off
Yes.
off your feet.
Yeah, at the time I was actually kickboxing, and I was very agile back then. I mean, this was, I was working out every day, and I was in shape. And, growing up being a dancer and, taking ballet and gymnastics, all that, I was good on my feet. Okay. And I played sports. So maybe somebody else would have fallen down. I don't know, but I kept my balance, but it did knock my legs out from under me. So, but it wasn't malicious. It was more like a playful kind of gesture, I guess you could say.
Welcome to the world, right? Welcome to our world. What a fun thing.
It was quite the initiation. Yes. So, but that next night, and one of the guys said, we decided that he and I would go to that field. We would team up and be partners, and we were dispersed kind of all over the area that next night. And he and I were going to go on a mission and, put on our camo and go sit in the tree line of that field that we were at. We were going to get there in the middle of the day, and we were going to blend into the environment and sit there until late that night when our group, the whole rest of the group, was going to come down, acting like normal everyday humans, being loud and obnoxious, bring some camping chairs and their didgeridoos and their drums or whatever, and make a bunch of noise in hopes that a Bigfoot would walk out of the woods and step on top of me and my partner.
This is 2011, right?
Yes.
So the making noise and banging on trees was still a big part of the mix.
Yeah, well, they didn't knock on trees because it was an open field. They just went and brought some camping chairs.
I'm saying in the culture, it was
people were still doing that. My team doesn't really do any wood knocks because we don't do that. We don't do that very often. I think that's in a lot of the TV shows that you might see and stuff, but my team doesn't do that.
Good.
The things that we watch, I don't watch those shows ever. I don't watch TV at all, to be honest with you. But but the ones that I did see, the things that they do, my team doesn't do a lot of that stuff. So we're out there doing some real research. Not to say they're not. I'm just saying we're not made for TV though.
Yeah. You know what I found? I found that like when I first started getting into it, I was doing that for a while and whatever too, and initially we were getting a really, really good reaction, like whoops and like in our face stuff all the time. But that was for one reason. Mm-hmm. They just wanted to draw our interest in, get us involved, get us in the program. Once they have you in the course, because it's like a teaching course, at least to me, it's like an education. Once they have you in the course, then they don't have to do all that in your face stuff. It's all telepathy. It's all lessons. Yeah. It's all mind speak, guide, all the real important stuff, as to why they're really here, which, like what you mentioned, is to raise our consciousness, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And because it did that for me.
Well, I don't want to sound like aggressive or whatever, but I don't think that it's a fact. They're here to raise our consciousness. Absolutely. That's the only they're here. People go into the Sasquatch thing thinking they're going to find out who Sasquatch is, and they do by default because they share with people that are open, high vibration, and that they trust and they like. But what we really find out is about who we are.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. I mean, it's like my spiritual journey. It all started with Bigfoot.
Right.
It really did.
We're talking about the second night you're out there, and you had one partner that was kind of taking one side of the field, and you were taking the other side of the field, and you were like rummaging around. That's where you left off.
Yeah. Well, we actually were sitting back to back. Okay. We never separate too much when we're out in the woods because we know that there's a lot of danger out there. And being as how I was the newbie, he and he and I sat out there together. We were basically had our backs to a tree together. And we didn't want to be too far apart. And thank God, because what transpired that night was pretty unnerving. Okay. So we didn't get I don't think we got any Bigfoot activity that night. However, we had a slew of UFO activity. Okay. A lot of UFO activity that night. So I'll just start. If you want to hear it, I'll tell you, because it's actually a pretty cool story.
Look, I think it's a huge deal, because there's like more than half the people in the Sasquatch research community are just completely block and deny that there's a UFO Sasquatch connection. I personally, on the back of an envelope, listed almost 50 things, 48 things that the Sasquatch people do and the ET people do, like Men in Black or making fuzzy photos, or it just goes on and on and on. That's a lot of, connectedness between the two. And I think that needs to be explained, that that there is a connection there.
Yeah. Now I can't make a complete connection, like there's a Bigfoot coming out of a spaceship or anything. I've never seen that. So I can't make that kind of a connection, but I can say that when we're out there doing Bigfoot field research, there's oftentimes UFO ET activity in the vicinity. Okay. So it's going on in the same areas. Now, is it because these areas have portals and they're all coming in and out of these portals there together? Or is it just the land, or what? I have no idea, but I can say for positively that there is a connection of some sort, because they're there in the same areas together quite often. Now, my partner and I were sitting out there from about 3 p.m. until almost 1 a.m. Okay. So it was a long day and a long night, but around the time it started to get dark, he and I were checking all of our equipment. I don't take a lot of equipment out there with me anymore, but that night I had a recording device and my EMF detector and, all my ghost hunting equipment, because, I had ghost hunting stuff. So that's what we use a lot of the same equipment, Bigfooting, as we do in ghost hunting. But I had my equipment, and he and I were noticing that our equipment was changing times. And, his went forward an hour and mine went backwards an hour. And we thought that was kind of weird, because we had just checked all that at base camp before we had left, to go out to the field. And so little things like that started happening. Our equipment started malfunctioning a little bit. And then we started seeing lights in the sky. And it was a beautiful night, very clear night, but we were watching airplanes moving in triangular patterns and stuff and all over the sky, that it just was not normal. And I kept thinking that my eyes were playing tricks on me, because first of all, I had not seen the sky, that many stars in the sky, in a long time, because I was so far out in the deep woods. You could see a lot of stars out there. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't looking at satellites or something else, but my partner was like, okay, well, hold your finger up and keep your finger right there on that light and then see where it moves. And he was giving me, he was kind of coaching me. I'm like, okay, look right here. He's like, I'm seeing this too. And he was trying to assure me that I wasn't crazy. Okay. And then about that time, we saw a big bright light over to the side of us, on the side of a mountain, that looked like a big headlight, like a car was driving across the side of the mountain. Well, it was kind of how our logical minds were trying to compute what we were seeing, because it was the only logical thing was a car. It was a car with headlights. But then we started thinking, well, there's no trail over there. And there's certainly no trail for a car. Okay. So then we went to, well, maybe it's a hiker with a lantern. And then we realized, well, that light is on top of the trees, not in the trees, So it just, things weren't making sense, but we're trying to make sense, and that's how it is with any kind of paranormal experience, is that your mind wants it to be something that you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I just kind of remember getting really tired, and that was normal, because we'd been out there all day. But I was getting really tired, and I kind of felt like I was dozing off a little bit. I had my recording device on the whole time, though, mind you. All right. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit, and we'll get back to that tired part. Okay. In just a minute. So the group came out around 9, 10 o'clock that night, and they were loud and making all this noise and beating drums and having fun and laughing and singing. And my partner and I were sitting there trying to watch and listen for any kind of Sasquatch Bigfoot activity, footsteps coming up behind us. And the group was seeing red lights in the wood line. They didn't know exactly where he and I were. We were hidden. Okay. And there were red lights in the woods, and they thought that it was us. Well, those red lights were about 10 feet from where we were sitting. Okay. And let's just say that when I went back and listened to my recording later on, around that same time, what sounded like bottle rockets were being set off all around me and my partner. It sounded literally like bottle rockets were exploding all around us, but we didn't hear that with our own ears. Okay. It was only on my recording device, which deleted by itself, by the way, after we listened to it that one time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brian's had stuff be deleted off his cameras before.
I've had probably maybe a dozen times where I've had either pictures put on my camera that they appeared to take that look like interdimensional, or they took pictures off my camera.
No
and
way.
Sometimes when I'm talking about, and sometimes I'll be talking about, and by the way, they take pictures off cameras. I'm talking to a couple people, and I say, by the way, show that guy the picture that we took today, because we were talking about a Sasquatch experiment. Well, I mentioned it, and guess what? The picture was gone.
But I had enough wherewithal to actually listen to that recording with the head of my team. Because something kept telling me, like, I was actually kind of scared to listen to it because I didn't know what had happened to us. It wasn't until we went back and remote viewed it that we actually found out what really did happen to he and I. And it was way more than just seeing those lights. Now, that stuff is something that we don't talk about, and I'm not really allowed to talk about, but it had a lot to do with some ET and alien stuff going on out there. Okay. So there was absolutely 100% UFO activity, a low flying UFO over us that night. Okay. But yeah, I had enough wherewithal to have someone listen to that recording with me when I got home. And he heard it as well before it deleted. So it wasn't just me that heard that. So thank goodness I had a witness to that. But a lot of times, things, it records like it was never there. It deletes, our recordings. And that's why when you get the really good evidence, when we had the portal incident that happened out in the woods at the meadow, one of the guys who walked into the portal, they knew that this was very important evidence. And it was so important that they needed to get it out of the area that night and to put it in a safe. Okay. So they took the SD cards and they put them in a bag, like a Mylar pack or something. And they put it on my friend's. He got on his motorcycle and he drove home that night, 2 hours home, and put it in a safe for safekeeping, because we knew that was some very important evidence, So, and it didn't erase. We actually, nothing happened to it. We actually still have it to this day. So, but it hasn't been released to the public yet.
I guarantee you one thing though, if they wanted to erase it, they could have.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's why I often wonder, like, why am I speaking about this right now? Why? But there's for some reason I'm supposed to be doing this right now, and I don't know why, but I feel like it is part of my mission here is to really talk about these things, and just to get the word out, and I think now's the time, and for whatever reason I feel like I'm being allowed to talk about this.
I think you're just raising people's consciousness like a lot of other people, because you're talking about possibilities and things people don't understand, and true stuff that we're beginning to understand and move in, and so that's what I think you're doing. I think you're doing what everyone else, all the other good people.
I can back you up on the ET, on the UFO and Sasquatch thing, because in this Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters, they did the world's biggest survey. This was like 4,000 people, 600 questions, 3 phases. And I think on the second phase, there was one question, and it's number 26 on that phase, because I remember I took that survey. I was kind of like a volunteer for those guys. And it was talking about it for of the percentage of people who were awake and aware on a craft, they were awake. They had full memory. And what the question was, who did you see? What type of beings did you see? And there was a list, right? And it was a categorical list because of So the number one was orb people, which was beings of light. They're either beings of light or balls of light. That was the number one scene. And then there was humans type, and then there's a few others, ET, the little gray kind of type, and a couple other types. The number six, though, was large hairy human type, which was a Sasquatch. They didn't call it Sasquatch. They call it, and then a small hairy human type, and those two combined was 17 plus is 21%. 21% of the people who've been on spacecraft, 21% of them out of this huge survey, international survey, 21% of them had seen a Sasquatch type being on the crew or as on the craft.
It's like Star Wars with Chewbacca, right?
That's where he got it from.
Yeah.
And then there's a UFO researcher named Barbara Lamb. I don't know if you ever heard of Barbara Lamb before, but she's also researches Sasquatch. And when she went down to South America, or South American contacts, this is not academic. This is just her research. She said that in South America, it's different than in North America. She said that the people report that over 50% of the people who go on a craft and see what's going on the craft come back and say it was a Sasquatch craft and a Sasquatch crew.
Wow.
So think about that, and the numbers are like extraordinary. In North America, right? In North America, they figure it's around 2% in North America and Europe, and that works out to like just in North America alone, and the United States alone, that's like 7 million people. So 7 million people over 30 or 40 years. You don't just have one craft, and if that's going on in South America, you don't contact 7 or 8 or 10 million people with one craft. You have to have fleets of craft to do it in like a 10 or 20 year span, right, or 30 year span, however they do it. You got to have fleets of craft. So, in my opinion, there's Sasquatch who are living in the woods, and there's Sasquatch that are flying the craft. Just like
I don't doubt it.
Well,
anything's possible, and I believe that. I absolutely do.
I had one incident where I had Sasquatching, a really significant Sasquatch encounter, and then there was a UFO flying right over top of us, and there was also a spirit bird. So it was really, really supernatural and spiritual. It was all the same phenomenon, like what?
Is that the one with like the 12-foot wings or something?
No, that was a golden eagle that flew into the forest canopy and watched Sue and I do a smudging ceremony. That was crazy and incredible. I thought it was a pterodactyl. No, this was just we had some Sasquatch activity, and then we looked up, we saw a UFO fly into the clouds, and then we saw a red-tailed hawk, which is my First Nation friend I was with, is his spirit animal. And it was watching us, and it flew directly over top of us right as soon as it was all going on at the same time. It was just like, whoa.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I actually just did it.
It's all connected, right?
It's all connected. It's funny. I just did a show. I remote viewed the modern day pterosaurs sightings in America. And really? I just did a show on that 2 weeks ago from tomorrow. They're here. They're everywhere. They're actually, we have like pterodactyls.
What are they? Oh, pterodactyls.
They're pterodactyls. Pterosaurs.
Maybe I did see a pterodactyl.
You did. You probably did. There are sightings all over the country.
They're coming in and out of interdimensional portals, or they're actually a living population on.
What's interesting is that a lot of my targets I do get interdimensionals and portals. On this one, I didn't. I just got that these things they've always been here. And it's just we haven't seen them. Let me tell you, the veil is thinning. And this is interesting that I'm going on my friend Jason's show tonight after I get off of you guys' show at 10 o'clock tonight at my time to talk about how the veil is thinning. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Because in a lot of my targets that I've been doing, looking into all this paranormal stuff, it's saying that we are experiencing more UFO sightings and more Bigfoot sightings, and modern day dinosaur sightings, because the veil has thinned. And a lot of this has always been here. It's more ancient. It's ancient. It's older than we are. And it's always been here. It's just we haven't been able to see it.
Yeah. How are people describing the pterodactyls? Because I'm just wondering if I did see one.
Yeah.
How are they describing them? How big are they, and what? And they look like classic pterodactyl?
They look like a classic pterodactyl. Yeah. Or a pterosaur. A pterosaur is just a overall umbrella term for a pterodactyl, I think. Pterodactyl falls underneath that. But they just look like the long beaks and the long neck. It looks like a crane or an what is it? An ibises or one of those water birds.
A heron?
Yeah, but it has long wingspan that kind of looks
like more like
a membrane.
It's not like feathers.
They don't have feathers. There's no feathers.
All I know is that I saw it fly in, and I'm thinking this is a pterodactyl, and it wasn't. It was a supernatural thing. It was not a regular occurrence, because it watched us do the ceremony.
Yeah.
And my wife is very particular about when we're doing smudging, whatever. I said, "You pass me the camera." And she said, "No, we got to finish this thing." As soon as she did pass it to me, it flew off like instantaneously. And it was so big that it had to bring its wings into its body and maneuver out of the forest canopy. It was, and you know, they don't fly in there for nothing. It flew in specifically to watch us, what we were doing.
You probably saw a pterosaur. Yeah. They're everywhere. They have a lot of sightings in South Carolina, in North Carolina, Oregon, you name it. Texas. Actually,
they have them out in New Mexico and places like that.
They do. They're all over the country. Some states have had more than 10 sightings reported. There's a lot. Yeah.
It could have been. I thought golden eagle in retrospect, but who knows? It was about 4 feet tall. The body.
They're tall with long, 10, 12 foot wingspans.
Yeah. The wingspan was like incredibly huge. Like I said, it couldn't fly out of the forest without bringing it halving, bringing the wings into its body. And it was,
but like with you said, like you thought it might be like a pterosaur or a pterodactyl, but there's no way. So our brains are conditioned or programmed to not think that. Okay.
Right.
I
was sitting there and I'm saying, is that a pterodactyl?
Yeah.
And then it sat on the tree and watched us the whole time, obviously. And then, of course, as soon as my wife caught wind of it, she decided, okay, the ceremony is over, then it flew off. She actually seen it fly off the last little second. She thought I was talking about a little sparrow or some kind of weird little, and she's looking, she didn't see it, and then, whoa. Oh, that's bad.
Well, you wouldn't be the first one to see it, because there's a ton of people seeing them. And when I put it on my social media, I was shocked at how many people had their own personal sightings of pterosaurs all over the place. And it was pretty shocking.
I'm not going to say it was, but I do know it was a supernatural, spiritual occurrence. It was, it was paranormal, or as we say, normal,
paranormal for us.
Normal over time. Whatever it was special. But but that's interesting. Pterodactyls,
modern day dinosaurs. Yeah, I mean, it's something I looked into with remote viewing, and some of them are. My data was saying that some of them were grown in labs. But I think that according to the data, they've always been here. They fly above the clouds sometimes, and it's just that we have not been able to see them. Same with Bigfoot. From what I'm learning, I feel like we're missing rods and cones that, in our eyes. I think that there's something in our vision where we can't pick them up. Maybe it's something in their hair, or there's an element to them that we just can't see.
They phase shift out.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had an experience?
Not only that, they taught me how to do it. They showed me how it's done. Yeah. It has to do with energy and intention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything they do is energy. Have you ever had an incident where you or your investigators had a sighting and you saw something totally different? Because my experience is that Sasquatch can give you any audible, visual, or sensory perception that they want, and it could be individual, it could be for a group, it could be for 2 out of the 4 people in the group. You could see a Scotty dog and I could see a Sasquatch. It's just like have you had experiences like that?
We have. Yeah, absolutely we have. Now, a lot of the times, There was one experience where, a lot of times we all experience pretty much the same thing. But I came home, but my team and I were all on the same frequency. We're on the same vibration. So I have full confidence that we're all going to experience the same thing usually. But however, I came home from the field one weekend and I had my son, he's 7 right now, but back then he was around 3, I guess, 2 or 3. And he was riding my elliptical machine in the front of my house. And his dad was recording him on his phone. And this was the day that I came in from the meadow where I had been doing paranormal investigating that weekend. It was actually the same weekend that the portal showed up and that my team recorded the portal incident. But I came home and there were orbs floating around my son, inside my house. And I had never seen orbs like that in my home before. And they were the size of golf balls. And they were solid white lights of orbs, orbs floating around my son as he was on the elliptical machine. And my son could see them and was pointing to them saying, "Mom, ball, ball." And I walked in and I saw them myself. I could see the orbs floating around my son. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, where do these things come from? Well, his dad could only see them through his phone. He was recording my son because he was looking cute, on the elliptical. And he said, he could not see them at all with his eyes. He could only see them through the phone. And actually, eventually one of the balls of light shot into the phone and it cut the phone off, completely shut the phone down, which was very interesting. But that's always stuck with me, is that he could not see those balls of light, but my son and I could. And my son was following it with his eyes and his finger, and you can see them in the video very, very clearly, following the orbs with his fingers and his eyes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just briefly, I can give you like an example of what I mean. And you're saying the same thing, but this is a little more physical, I suppose. I saw a Sasquatch cross the path in front of me, except it was completely invisible until it was 3/4 of the way across, right? My friend and I were looking straight ahead. So it just materialized out of thin air. And I said, "Did you see that Sasquatch?" And my friend said, "You mean that little Scotty dog?"
Oh, yeah.
He saw a Scotty dog because he was only a couple of years into his journey. He wasn't ready to see what I saw, right? So they gave him what he was ready to see, and they gave me what I was ready to see.
Yeah.
And, we experienced the exact same thing, but the visual was 110% different, right?
Yeah. Well, I have an interesting story. Out of a park here in Georgia, I was called up to by a park ranger, actually, to go do a Bigfoot investigation because they had about, I think it was 8 Bigfoot sightings in a month, at this park. Allegedly. And so I always am really careful, I wasn't even planning on going to investigate this. And I certainly wasn't going to take my whole team because I don't really do a whole lot of investigating that much from just random, calls that I get and things like that. But this one was a little different and they were having so much activity. I got a couple of my teammates. There were 4 of us that went up there and we went and investigated this place. And one of the reports was that there's a campground and there were 4 people, 2 couples that were walking back to their tent one night, and they were walking down a little trail that was in the woods, and the 2 people that were in the front of the line that were walking side by side said that a huge hulking dark figure, basically a Bigfoot looking thing, jumped down from the tree and landed in front of them. And it scared them so terribly, they took off running. And the 2 people that were in the back of the line, they didn't know what happened. And they just kept walking a little ways and they saw a squirrel. So the 2 people in the front swore they saw like a Bigfoot, something huge and hulking. And the other 2 people saw a red squirrel.
Right.
And
I've also, perfect. Yeah, absolutely. I've also heard, I haven't experienced this myself, but people have actually seen them shapeshift from from a Sasquatch to a wolf, or vice versa or something, So they do shapeshift, and some people have actually witnessed them doing that. I've witnessed them shifted because of the activity, and I just know it was just like so obvious, but I've never actually seen them actually do the transition. But
yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I've heard that. You know, we got the whole skinwalker thing, and you know, there's a lot of strange things out in those woods. A lot. So
yeah,
who knows?
yeah. So have you done any remote viewing on Sasquatch, and what have you seen? What have you?
Yeah, you know, that actually the stuff that we do regarding the Bigfoot is part of the stuff that we don't really talk about that my team does, because it's kind of, you know, dealing with the Bigfoots in those areas. So I don't do a whole lot of research with Bigfoot out there as far as remote viewing does. I do the research, but not the remote viewing stuff. And the stuff we do is kind of, I've been asked not to talk about it. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, okay. I just thought you might have remote viewed them and seen how they were living.
Talk about it.
But they're there though. They're there. I promise y'all, they're out there.
No, I mean, I just thought maybe you'd seen them like in a living situation or something, and like just everyday life and stuff like that.
Well, I can just tell you from my research, I do believe that they are interdimensional. Okay, let's just put it that way. I'm just going to be very upfront. I believe they're interdimensional. Okay, my team has not found a ton of places where these things are bedded down out there that have like long-term living spaces and things like that. You know, but that's just my experience. It doesn't mean it's not there. You know, it doesn't mean that they don't live in the woods and stay in the caves and do whatever. It's just not been my experience. I also have had, you know, my team, I've brought them on my shows, you know, and to discuss all of this and to give their accounts of what their experiences are out in the woods. Because we've had a lot of weird experiences with Bigfoot. And one of my teammates, Keith, he came on my show telling about his experience where he was at base camp one night and he heard heavy footsteps going around the base camp. And then there was a flash of light and the footsteps stopped. Okay. You know, did he see a Bigfoot come in and out of a portal? No, but you know, there was a flash of light and everything stopped. The noises, the footsteps, you know, we'll be out in the field and find track lines, you know, gigantic human footprints. And they just disappear into thin air.
Yeah.
Okay. Not only that, but tire tracks. Okay. Tire tracks, like from vehicles, are in the same field where the portal opened and disappear into thin air.
Yeah. I've seen like a single Sasquatch track in like a big mud area, like the size of a huge room that was just left there deliberately. Like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, just to get my attention. And how did you do that? Kind of thing, you know. But.
Yeah, one of my teammates, Bob, he was walking in one of the areas that we researched. He found one tiny little child-sized footprint in the creek. I mean, just one. And he's a trained search and rescue guy. He used to take his dog all over California and, you know, doing search and rescues. And he knows he's the number one tracker on our team, basically. And it's baffled him for years. You know, where did that one little child-sized footprint come from? In the middle of nowhere. So, yeah. We have a lot of weird things happening out there.
Brian, are you froze up?
Maybe it's just a deep thought.
I think he's froze up.
You guys ever? Yeah.
It's strange to us now because we don't really have our head wrapped around what's really going on. As soon as people go, "Oh, that's just interdimensional," or "Oh, that's just a portal," as soon as they get it, then it's not going to be mysterious anymore. It's going to be part of the if there's physical human beings, right, and that's your worldview, then there's laws of nature covering the physics of this reality.
Yeah.
But if it's interdimensional, right, and it's spiritual, then there's a different set of physics that covers that. You know, like changing the frequencies and changing dimensions and stuff like that. That's just another part of physics that we don't really recognize yet.
Well, I'm all about raising my vibration as my vibrational frequency and doing healing work on myself. And, and I've been doing that for the past 2 years, ever since I've started understanding these things, just trying to be the best version of myself that I can, because I feel like right now our Earth's vibration is changing and it's rising. And I feel like we as humans are going to have to rise with it or get left behind,
Are you doing this, raising your vibrations in the work you're doing with yourself? Is this at the Sasquatch or somebody, some guides enhance that in you, or is it just that you decided this is what I want to do? Have they
Yeah.
enhanced those abilities? Because a lot of people who have a relationship with Sasquatch have all these abilities just come online and whatever that you know that I
Yeah.
believe we all had at one time, and they're sort of like reintroducing us to.
You know, that's
Uh-huh.
interesting. It's very interesting because I've always been very psychically in tune and attuned to the whole, like having one foot in this world and one foot in the spirit world. Okay.
Right.
I've been like that my entire life, but through a series of misfortunate relationships and events and things in my life, I had to claw my way out of hell the past couple of years. Okay. And so I think that's why, you know, I started getting really on my spiritual path a couple of years ago was from a lot of negative energies that were surrounding me and attacking me and things like that spiritually. And so, but being, you know, in the research field, it really did help. You know, it was just enlightenment. And yes, Bigfoot has something to do with that. But let me tell you, it's more of, I feel like I've got more of a connection to like the ET realm of all of this, to be honest with you, in some weird way. Because when I started doing remote viewing, and my team, you know, my partner and I had that really profound experience with aliens. The head of my team who taught us remote viewing suggested that we all start studying alien abductions and aliens, period. Because I didn't know a whole lot about aliens. I knew that there were aliens. I believed in aliens, but I did not know anything about aliens. So he had us start reading it. Well, started reading books like The Threat and Communion and let's see, Secret Life. You know, I've got a bookshelf right behind my computer over here. I have a whole bookshelf of alien abduction books. And yeah, I started waking up at night and having ETs in my bedroom. Okay. Right after I started doing that, when I started reading that. Now, did I manifest them? Perhaps I might have. Or did I just change my vibration where I was understanding them now and I was able to see them? Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you were just open to it.
What did they look like?
Well, there were two different incidents. And the first time, I can't remember which came first. But there was one time where there were two small beings, we could say, in my bedroom. They I guess they would be like grays, I guess. And the other time it was a very tall figure with a robe on. It had like the Grim Reaper in my room. And yeah, I believe it was like a praying mantis.
Oh my God.
Type.
They have that Grim Reaper type. Imagine a Grim Reaper type like that you saw. You couldn't really see inside. They have those that are actually give light out instead of being a physical being inside there. That's just light coming out of there. That's what the light beings are like.
This was a little darker, I think. I mean, I didn't get any. I never felt threatened by any chance, but you know, it's one of those weird things where I was, you know, I've woken up to dead spirits by my bed plenty of times that were solid in human form. People that I even knew that had passed away, being in my room and stuff, you know. So it was just different, you know. I'm very inoculated to the high strangeness. And so nothing shocks me at all anymore. And it just kind of was like one of those things like, oh, dang. Am I really seeing that right now? That sucks. And so, you know, I just went back to sleep. I guess they put me back to sleep. I think that's kind of what happens.
So the praying mantis, how do you describe it? Did you actually see the body parts and stuff? Or,
you know, honestly,
or is it appealing?
I only call it that because its hands were up in this weird position like this, you know. I could only see its hands, the position of its hands, but because I had that huge robe on. So I don't know. I haven't done any regressive therapy or anything to go back and look at that. So it'd be interesting.
You don't remember being on the craft yet?
Well, I did have a weird dream, though. Let me tell you, right after that happened.
The number one contact modality is in the dream. That's the number one.
Yeah. I've always written my dreams down, and I have a lot of dream journals. I've done that since I was a kid. But after the Grim Reaper one was in my vicinity here, I fell asleep and I had a dream about it was like the Wizard of Oz. Okay. And I was surrounded by munchkins. Okay. And they told me to stop beating up the mayor of their town because I was going to get them in trouble.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah.
The mayor of Munchkin.
Yes, I was beating up the mayor of Munchkinville or whatever, the Wizard of Oz guy or
Who was
Oz
talking to you?
people. Yeah,
Those guys? Remember the lollipop?
basically, yes, yes. So, but I think that was a screen memory. I was probably being abducted. You know,
By
it could
Munchkin.
be.
Or well, you know, it's probably they just gave you that visual because you could maybe not freak out with munchkins or whatever. If you saw what it really was.
I was Dorothy, I guess. Yeah.
You know, maybe.
I just was trying to click my heels and get back home, though. I'm sure. So.
You know, I've been on craft. I've been on craft a couple of times, and one of the most disturbing things about being on a craft is how normal it is. I swear to God, you come back from the craft, say, "Well, I was just on a craft," and you don't feel anything because it feels completely normal. There's not like a big shift or, you know, I could see how they block people's memories of that. But if you're a conscious contact, if you go in there and you awaken and you're in a craft somewhere, it's just normal. It's not like some, you know, going to some psychedelic, you know, bus ride or something. It's just it's profoundly normal, disturbingly normal. You would think you would think like, oh my God, I've been abducted, but it's not like that.
Yeah. Well, it was just like having the experience in my room and having, you know, possible ETs in there. And it just was, I just went back to sleep and was like, and like I said, I do believe they probably put me to sleep because
who does that? Who has a bunch of ETs in the room and goes,
that's weird.
I
might as well go back to sleep. Yeah. I'm going to go back to sleep. That's too weird for me. I got to go back to sleep.
They definitely come into our dreams. There's no question about that. There is regular dreams, and then there's dreams where there's actually an entity or a Sasquatch or somebody in your dream. I'll give you a really brief example of that. I was working on my book, which who knows if I'll ever get it done. I'm so damn lazy. But anyway, and I was talking about a story that I shared with a guy where I was telling him Sasquatch can shapeshift into humans. Okay. Because I've experienced it, and then he took it up a big step because he associated the sighting and all the behavior with also a floral fragrance of. It's a big story, but anyway, he took it up like, okay, no question about it, right? So I'm writing about this and whatever, and I'm thinking about writing about you know, Sasquatch can shapeshift into humans and stuff. And that night I had a dream. And I saw a Sasquatch walk by me in the dream, walk right in front of me, and it shapeshifted into a human.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was showing you.
That's not a regular dream.
No.
Right?
Right. Correct. I get more messages in my dream state than anywhere. And that's why I always recommend to people to write their dreams down when they wake up and to keep a dream journal, because, I get a lot of messages from ancestors and all sorts of interesting people come to me in my dreams. So people don't understand how I guess we're operating in the 5D and at that point or above.
Yeah. But there's a different feeling in those dreams. Like there's a realness to them. They don't feel like a regular dream either. They feel like something actually happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've awakened in the morning and I feel like I had run a marathon. Like I ran around the world because I was having meetings with so many people all night.
Healings and teachings.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my experience is about them healing people and them teaching people, waking them up consciously, whatever. Can you talk about some of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it was interesting. During the quarantine in 2020, we were all kind of left to kind of rest for a little while, and nobody left their houses for a while and things like that. And I was having to homeschool my kid and do distance learning. So and I was going through a divorce, so I was able to kind of be isolated with just me and my son. And which was beautiful, by the way, beautiful, best thing that ever happened, because I was able to start teaching myself stuff and taking up hobbies and resting and relaxing and putting my mind at ease finally and just healing. I needed that healing. I needed to be isolated and separated from society for a while. I needed that, and I use it to my advantage. I taught myself how to read tarot cards and oracle cards, and it was just something that I'd always been fascinated with. And so I started watching videos and started learning. And I can't say I wasn't terrible at it. I was pretty good at it. And so people started hearing about it and wanted to get readings from me. And so I did it gladly. And I loved reading cards for people. And there were people that I didn't know very well that would call me and ask for readings. And I became good friends with those people eventually. And, and I would read for their family members. And there were times where I would dream at night and their ancestors would come to me in my dreams and teach me things. Their ancestors were coming to thank me and to teach me things that they knew. Okay, spiritual stuff. And it was amazing. And that was life-changing. It was another step in my spiritual elevation there.
Now, let me just interrupt you there for a second. Now, being the investigator and thorough like you are, you obviously fact-checked with these people after the fact and found out that, oh, wait a minute, that was your ancestor by description or something, or...
Well, they told me they were, and I did have discussions with one of the people, yes, and but these were very old ancestors. These were not like grandparents. These were people way back. Centuries.
I got you. So they wouldn't really know. Yeah. Okay.
They weren't there they weren't called by name. I don't know. They were back hundreds of years ago, kind of ancestors. So yeah, it was very interesting, but it felt good. It felt good, and I feel like my dreams are very, very healing. If I have to sleep every night, let me tell you, if I don't get my sleep, I'm not a happy person. I can't function because I have to dream. I've been told the reason we sleep is not just because we need rest, because we have to dream. We have to let our subconscious flow. Yeah. We have to get out all of that noise out of our head. We got to do that while we're dreaming at night, so yeah, it's important, especially doing all this remote viewing stuff that I like to do. So,
yeah, it's nice when you do. I've gone through extended periods when I don't dream, like years, it seems like. And, I don't smoke it anymore or whatever, but when I was smoking weed, never dream.
Yeah.
Never dream. So
wow.
If you want to dream and you're not dreaming, quit smoking weed.
Just go sober for a while. You'll be good. You'll have plenty of dreams.
Beg your pardon?
Well, the thing about having a kid is that I don't get to wake up and marinate on what I dreamt the night before anymore like I used to. I am waking up and hitting the gas pedal every morning now because I've got my kid. I got to get him to school every morning, and and it's not as easy now to dissect my dreams when I wake up in the morning. I look forward to the day where I can resume that. But yeah. But those important dreams, when there's a really important message, you will remember it. I mean, the higher power will make sure you do remember that dream.
Yeah, some of them are just stupid, or they seem stupid.
Yeah.
Some of them are definitely, there's a message there, like the Sasquatch shape-shifting one. But the one I had where I was playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs, my favorite hockey team didn't mean anything other than I was.
That's awesome.
I was a Maple Leaf, yes.
Were you a keeper? You got to be the goalie, right?
No, it was funny because I was the new guy on the team, and I met the big superstar at the rink before the game, and he liked me. Like, this guy is like he's like Wayne Gretzky kind of guy, like, whoa, he likes me and whatever. And I said, oh, we'll see you at the game. And then I couldn't find my way to the dressing room before the game. I couldn't find it, so I never got to play, and it was just like, oh no.
Oh, I hate those kind of dreams where it's just like you're almost there, but something's holding you back.
Yeah, but Austin Matthews liked me. That was the guy I was talking to, so I was happy about that. But
nice.
He's probably wondering, where is that kid?
He's lost in the hallway. He just can't get here.
It was bizarre, yeah.
I don't think I could play hockey. It's too hard, man. That's like one of the most physically hard.
That's a tough game, man.
I mean, these guys are, 5 years old. They're out racing up and down the rivers just so they can get strong enough to play hockey. I mean, they're animals out there.
Oh yeah.
I can't say much. I played rugby for my college, so that's pretty rough.
That's pretty rough.
It was real rough. It was fun. I loved it.
I had a friend of mine who was playing rugby, and he ended up killing the guy by mistake.
Oops.
He just cross-checked him, and the guy was going this way, and he cross-checked him that way and snapped his neck.
Oh, yeah, that can happen. That's terrible.
Yikes.
It is very dangerous.
Lacrosse is another tough sport. They actually hit each other with those sticks.
Yeah.
There's some tough sports out there.
Yeah, there are. Can't wait to see what my son decides. He plays jujitsu. I wouldn't say play, but he does jujitsu. So it's not as rough as rugby, but
well, it's an individual. Well, it's not really. Yeah. Well, it's an individual.
It's just
sport.
Different. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
There's no punching, just wrestling. Yeah.
Like that UFC stuff. I can't figure that out. I prefer just the old-fashioned boxing,
Yeah. Well, I used to do kickboxing, so I like that too. I like all that stuff. I like all of it. I wouldn't do it now. I'm a little bit older now, and my body's not as fast nor is in as good a shape as I used to be. So, but I am out there chasing Bigfoots in the woods. So, and that does keep people in shape because it's a big workout. Okay.
Well, if you trust that they're interdimensional, you can stay at home and they come to you.
Yeah. Well, we get more activity in base camp sometimes than anywhere. So on the last trip that I took out to the woods, I actually spent my evenings at base camp with helping with the radio contact. We go out in teams, and we always have somebody that stays at base camp and mans the radios. We all carry our CBs. We have ham radios that we carry out there with us, and so that's what I did last time I went out.
Yeah.
If you want after the show, I'll send you a link to my SASQUATCH contact modality. It's how they can see each other. It's by increasing the vibration of their heart spirits. Basically, the way I think of them is archangel class heart spirits or earth spirits. So they're really high spiritual beings. And when you raise your vibration of your heart up, you connect to your heart, then they know exactly what that is. They know exactly what you're doing. And the people that have done that I've given that thing to is they've had profound experiences because of that. Because that's like saying, I'm here and I want to get to your level. And that's what they respond to. If you want to be lifted up and you're making an effort to be lifted up, somebody will come along and be a teacher for you.
Yeah. It's raising that vibration, I think that's why a lot of people who have paranormal experiences are having them, because their vibration is higher, than some people. And then also there are people whose vibrations are very low, and they have more experiences with like the lower vibrational beings, like the shadow people and all the dark stuff,
Scary stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about the whatever vibe, whatever frequency you're on. And, I'm trying to be as high vibe as possible so I can hang out with the ETs and the Sasquatches.
I find that, Beans made a good point, though. He doesn't go out in the woods much. I mean, I go out there almost every day just because it's good for my soul, just personally. And I enjoy it out there. But I generally probably feel them more at home than I even do in the woods. Like that, like I can feel them right now. Like they just connect with me energetically. Doesn't matter where you are once you have the connection with them.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Like
Who loves that?
Yeah, they're kind of
sung to the tune of the Love Boat.
they're listening in right now. Put it that way. I can feel them. Can you have that ability? You feel stuff like that when they're like tuned in and stuff?
I absolutely do. I pick up on all sorts of different energies.
Yeah. I remember early on.
When you go out, you can say the Sasquatch are here, right?
It was really profound.
Around. Right?
It was really profound. I'd be having a conversation with 2 or 3 people online, and I'd say, "Do you feel them?" We could all feel them listening in, and and then they'd give us energetic nudges when I would hit a point that they liked or something that they agreed with, like raising vibration, stuff like that. But, at a certain point, you don't have to go into the woods, although I'll never quit doing that.
Well, yeah. Well, I really like going into the woods, and and with my teams, we've kind of, not to say that we're not Bigfoot field researchers anymore, because we absolutely are, but we've kind of established that they're out there, and we have, and we will interact with them, but we have experienced so much other weirdness that we are covering a lot of different types of phenomenon out there now. And a lot of it has to do with trying to figure out what these portals are, and the ET connection, and the other, the other. So like interdimensional kind of stuff that's going on out there. So the Bigfoots are there. They've always been there.
I think you can find those portals with an EMF machine, those little handheld EMS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we'll have those. Well, we actually carry Geiger counters out there as well. Those things that measure radiation, and and there was a nice big, or I'm not going to say big, there's a spike of radiation when that portal showed up. And a lot of times we have paranormal activity. There is at least a small spike in the radiation as that's happening.
Yeah, but I think that. Also, the EMF would probably work with that too, because there's people who have reported that you get EMF spikes under the like tree structures or the big X's and stuff. They can see there's a difference in the electromagnetic field when they go in and out of the portals, or not the portals, but the tree structures, and
which could be a portal. I don't know.
Which could be, or it just could be marking an energy spot. Because you say, hey, there's an energy spot here if you want to come and recharge or whatever.
Yeah. I've seen some amazing tree structures. Just guys on my team alone have brought in, pictures from some of their outings where there's trees that are twisted around 12 times, at least. I mean, huge trees. Just not humanly possible. And I don't know of any kind of machinery that would do that. The way these trees are twisted like that.
Like crop circles that just
crop circles
bend over, twist around.
Yeah, with those little blown out nodes and stuff. I mean, it defies anything a human would do, when it comes to all these trees. A lot of the tree structures, and I'm really careful about what I talk about on my show and the kind of pictures that I'll show, with my guests, because a lot of things, you can never discount a bored human or a camper or Boy Scouts going out there and bending trees over, but there's some that defy human capabilities. And so those are the impressive ones.
I think the only thing that would actually apply to is the stacked stones, because humans are known to stack stones.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just can't in my wildest dreams imagine a couple of guys out walking around. They're looking at squirrels and trees and birds and stuff,
Yeah.
Imagine them walk into some area and say, "Well, let's gather a bunch of sticks."
Yeah.
You know,
True.
I just don't see that. You know,
That's true.
that is irrational assumptions.
I know. Yeah. And but there's some where one of my good friends who is a researcher up in North Carolina, he finds stick formations where it just looks like sticks leaned up against a tree, but it has a meaning behind it. So it's basically showing how many Sasquatches are in the area and things like that.
That's what I got. That's my understanding too.
Yeah.
If there's two sticks leaned up against a tree, that means two Sasquatch were there. If there's a big one and a small one, that can be indicative of size too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And, but there are a lot of people that don't know anything about Sasquatch and have never been exposed to any of this, who will say, oh, no, that's not real or whatever. And so, what I like to show on my show is the really profound stuff that humans just can't do. And I show all of it, but you have to think when you're trying to bring this out to the general public, people want to see stuff that humans can't do, that could really be Sasquatch and stuff. But those of us who know, we know. We know.
I'll have to sometime later on or something. I'll share some of my structures and whatever with you.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
All kinds of structures, but the main thing is their stick writing, the communication. The glyphs is a big thing with me. Like they communicate with me back and forth with the writing, and I can understand it. We actually we can talk back and forth to each other about it.
Cool.
Yeah. But the
you ever see a bit like a really
can I just say one thing, Dean, to wrap this part up? Sure. I wanted to say one thing is that the structures are in exact science because I know people make them, but I also know 100% Sasquatch make them for a number of reasons I won't get into. Like just circumstances, whatever. So it's a real inexact science sometimes, the structures. People and Sasquatch making, same thing with the rock stacks. The glyphs, not so much, because that's a whole different kind of thing. But the thing is that, and I think that I see in you too, and what we have to do is we're very open-minded. I'm talking about all of us, and people are open, but whatever, but that you have to use discernment. You always have to keep that discernment thing going, because once you lose that, then everything is like I was then you start thinking like you're Zeus or something from another galaxy. You have to use discernment in this too.
Yeah, you got to, because we don't know what we're dealing with a lot of times too when we go out in the woods. And to anyone who does field research, there's so much more out there. In my experience, I've experienced a lot out there, and it's not just Bigfoot. The last thing I want to do is to walk into a portal and never be seen again. I have a kid at home. I got to get back home, take care of him. So, but even experiencing that portal and having the two teammates walk into it, my team came up with a protocol in case we ever find another portal again. And that may or may not include tying a rope around somebody, and letting them walk in while the rest of everybody holds on. It sounds silly, but, we don't know what else to do. It's like, we have people that have volunteered to go back inside of it, but we'll do whatever we can to make sure they don't get stuck in it and never come back out. And, it's just, we don't know what we're doing because we've never experienced this stuff before. There's no protocol written for this stuff already. Not that we know of.
Have you walked into one?
Not that I know of. No, I have not. But Tim, one of our teammates, he walked into two of them. We actually have one of them documented. But now of the two gentlemen that walked in them, both of them got health problems, very bad. I think we don't say that that's why they got sick, but Tim has actually passed away since then. He developed a bad heart condition and passed away last year, or I guess it was 2020. And then Bob, one of my teammates, he got sick and has still been recovering from that for the past couple of years. So and you think it was from walking into the portal? We have our suspicions. I don't. I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't know, but I can say that some of us have had our suspicions, because I think the radiation was really high.
thing I like about just wrapping up the structures thing is a lot of things I like about the subtle stuff is what is really compelling. Like you said, the couple sticks leaning up against the trees that you find all the time, or little subtle things that you just know people wouldn't do. Like, and you just notice it over and over and over again. So you get to understand what you're looking at, but you still have to use discernment because there are people involved too at times, or it could be a joint effort, like if you're camping and you're a kid and you see a big Sasquatch fort, what are you going to do? You're going to take it over and you're going to put your stuff on it and you're right. You can add on to it. What were you saying, Beans? I'm sorry for interrupting you. You were going to say something.
I was going to ask, do you know this guy, a guy named Bob Wilson?
Bob is my teammate. He's the one that walked into the portal.
Yeah, I met him.
Bob is family to me. Absolutely. He lives right down the road.
He told me when I was in Clayton, he said he walked into a portal and then a little while later,
that was Bob.
He appeared somewhere else.
That was different. That was actually a different time. Bob is the magnet to high strangeness on our team, actually. Bob is who I sat in base camp with last time I went out because he was holding down base camp doing radio all night. So he and I did that together.
You mentioned a guy, Keith. What was his last name? Because I do know a Keith from Georgia.
Keith McLean is his name.
Oh, okay. No, it's not the same.
He's actually a wildlife biologist, and he's the guy that knows all the animal noises out there and all the plants and all the trees and everything. So
you guys got quite the team.
We do. We have an elite team. I like to say everyone has their own specialties, and we all teach each other what we know. So we've been teaching each other everything. We have the head of the Georgia Dowsing is on my team, and so he's taught us all dowsing. We've got my head of my team's a remote viewer, so he taught us all remote viewing, and we go out and do survival courses and tracking courses, and combat medical courses, and I even know how to cover a sucking chest wound, you guys. I don't know even why I would need that unless someone got shot, but I can do it. Because that's what I was taught. We teach each other our skills, so it's fun. It's been an amazing experience, and it all stemmed from searching for Bigfoot.
Well, let me ask you, how would you describe your relationship to Sasquatch? Do you have individuals with Sasquatch that you're buddies with, or is it still like us and then there's them?
Yeah.
How would you describe your relationships? There may be more than one kind of a relationship.
Well, in my experience, it's more of an us and them kind of thing because I've never been face to face with a Bigfoot before. I have been in the environment. We've had some loose communication kind of going on with these things a little bit, but after 11 years, I don't have a personal relationship with the Bigfoots out there, me personally. Not to say other people may not, but just I personally don't. It's more like a me and them, and I hope that one day one will walk right up to me.
Some people would not want. They want to research.
I want to. No, I would love to be face to face with one. Now they have absolutely been in my environment multiple times and triangulated and whooped and whistled and thrown rocks at my tent all night and screamed at me once and in the base camp screamed at me and just been there. I had something run up behind me and knock my legs out from under me. I've seen them running along the tree line, but I've never been face to face with one. So
are they teaching
still waiting.
You? Do you think you have a teaching relationship with them? Are they showing you and teaching you things?
Well, in general, absolutely. Yes. It really got me on my path to where I am right now. Just the whole experience, just meeting the team and becoming a part of that and advancing as a soul on a soul journey at this point.
So I think you do have a relationship with them.
I do. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They've introduced me to all their ET friends and they come hang out with me in my room sometimes. I'm kidding.
And vice versa. For all you know, your ET friends got you hooked up with the Sasquatch people. You don't know which way it goes.
They may be hanging out in your room. They hang out in my room. They're hiding stuff on me all the time. Like recently, I've had stuff go missing, and then I've looked for it, and it's in the exact spot where I looked for it, and like 100%, like in a case. Like it's just no explanation. They like playing around. Yeah. Or they'll come in there and they'll make a little glyph in my room or something.
That is really cool. That is really cool.
You know, after my introduction to the Sasquatch people, they kind of introduced themselves to me in a really dramatic way. But after my introduction, I understood that they were interdimensional and they were around all the time. But then it took them 2 years to teach me about the all one and no space, and that they live in the all one and no space, and which means that they're like my Sasquatch can be with me right now, inside me, outside me, inside Brian, outside Brian, and inside Jessica and outside Jessica simultaneously, because it's all one.
Yeah.
And that's the level that they teach me at, is this in the all one level. That there is no way, it's impossible for Sasquatch to be separated, or us to be separated for anything else, or else,
Yeah.
if there was separation, drum roll please, or not drum roll, but if there was any separation at all, then remote viewing wouldn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard for me to answer questions from people sometimes about my experiences, because, I'm coming from a different level kind of, and it's not a higher, lower level than anybody. It's just a level of, there's a gray area between my dreams and reality and the paranormal and stuff. And it's just all combined, and so it's hard to explain things to people sometimes. It's like, well, I had this experience, but it was in a dream state, or I don't know what's going on anymore. Because I am very in tune, and everything is happening all at once, and it's happening in such a big level, but it's also microscopic, and there's this duality to everything, and it's just, it is what it is.
You can't put it in a box, but if you can live with multiple boxes and multiple size boxes simultaneously contradicting each other, like all physical, all spiritual. There's the all physical box, all spiritual box. There's the connection between the physical and spiritual box. If you can just let that percolate around in there, then you're okay. You're good to go. Because that's just, the ETs connect us the same way. How can an ET? That when the ETs were first coming around, people would freak out. Oh, I got abducted. And then I moved to Arizona. I got abducted there. Then I moved to Colorado. I got abducted. Well, how do the ETs find you? Because they're never gone. You know what I mean? And the same thing with Sasquatch. The Sasquatch says, people say, "Oh, I went to Washington State, and the Sasquatch were there, and I went back to Tennessee, and the Sasquatch were there, and I seem like wherever I go, the Sasquatch nowhere." Well, that's not the way it is. It's not that they know where you are. It's just that you never left. They never left you, ever, because it's all one. It's all connected, and there's no space. We think in terms of space.
Exactly. But mind blown, right? I understand all of that. And you took the words out of my mouth. You explained that very eloquently, actually. And I appreciate that, because sometimes when you are trying to explain things like that to particular general public, or someone that doesn't know anything about Bigfoot or aliens or anything, or they're not interested in it, you just get a blank stare back, sometimes.
Oh, yeah. So
it's good to be able to communicate with people that are on my frequency today. And I do every day. A lot of the people who watch my shows and that I'm connecting with every day are on this level. And it's so important that, we talk to other people and explain things like we're doing right now, to try to bring everybody up on a higher frequency, because that's where the Earth's headed, and that's where we need to be. So
we had one guy we interviewed. What's his name? Richard Rensenberry. What's his name? That's his name, Brian. Richard. Yeah, and he's got a bunch of friends he's friends with Sasquatch, and they take him into the portals and back out. So he might be a good guy for you to talk to. And he's got a couple little books. Yeah.
I would love to talk to him, actually.
Yeah, and the Sasquatch, they teased him by saying that they're going to invite him into a portal long enough so that he could write a book about it. But they said the same thing to Kwani Lapsoditis, right? They said the same thing to him. I said, my next book is going to be on a portal, but they never really took him into a portal, Kwani. And I don't know if they're going to take this guy Richard in the portal. It's enough for the right book, but to me, that means there's a full press on. There's a full press for invisibility. There's a full press for mind speak, and there's a full press on about the portals. So it's an important part of reality that we need to know about, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that we figure out what these portals are, like the one that my team experienced, just for the pure fact that we need to figure out where all these missing people are going out of our parks. And I think that this could be one of the culprits.
You haven't remote viewed that?
We have remote viewed the box, yes, but it is something that I can't talk about right now.
Well,
we did. I didn't know what I was remote viewing though.
Secret space program will account for several million of those people being gone.
Yeah, I've heard that. But
the
how are they getting there?
The Nazis were actually on the moon. By 1947, they were on the moon. So what does that tell you? And like one of the biggest things that they do is move people around. So that's been going on for a long time. And in terms of money in space, these guys are out there doing stuff in space. It's like human trafficking is just kind of considered like the money out there. So
do you want to see a couple of my friends quickly?
Yeah.
Just to piss beans off.
Oh yeah, I'm jealous of people who get to see Sasquatch face to face.
You see this guy?
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah, he was throwing rocks out at me on the path earlier, like
oh my goodness,
just a hi, we're here kind of thing. Never threatening, but you see him, right?
Looks like a shadowy kind of figure right there. I see that.
Yeah, he's cloaked, but it's obvious. 100%. You can see him like 100%, right?
Yeah, I see it.
Yep. Here's a guy who was I was taking a selfie, and here he is, my friend Little Bud, looking at me. You see him here?
I do. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Cool. Is that your arm? The purple?
Yeah, I was taking a selfie, and here's my clan leader.
Oh wow. Oh my
Here's his head, his whole body. Yeah, he's also partially cloaked. So if anybody says they can't cloak and they're not interdimensional, you're wrong. I'm just gonna say it. As simply as I can. And I want to get back to your story. I'll just show you a couple of things because maybe you haven't seen these. Here's a couple of. Okay, forget it. I have some gloves and stuff I was going to show, but I can't find them. So.
Thank you for sharing those. Those are really awesome.
Oh, well, you can see this.
Oh wow, that's a little creepy there. That's a face.
Well, that was a bunch of orbs that formed into one entity. I've got more pictures where you see it like different, but yeah, that was like consciousness coming in from all different points of consciousness kind of thing. Here's a picture that Sasquatch took
on
my camera. Yeah.
I don't think you can do that with a camera. I don't think the human being can do that with a camera.
No, that's interdimensional. That's they've done that a lot, but that's I've got a few pictures like this. They actually took that picture. I didn't take the picture. That's my wife.
That in the picture? Is that your wife?
My wife. That's my wife.
Wow.
Yeah. And here's some of their glyphs, some of their communication.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Welcome friendship from the clan of RE. That's what that means, and it's you can
beautiful.
see the love and I'm getting beautiful.
Yeah.
You can see the love behind it.
That's beautiful.
You can see the giving, the friendship, like it's when I seen this, I just burst right into tears. Here's another one they left at my house.
Oh my goodness.
That's the other thing about this all one and all connected.
Here's another one that
Sasquatch know where you're going to walk that day, and then they'll put something in your way, like he gets.
Wow.
They know where you're going to walk, and if you ever see one footprint, you pretty much know that one footprint is a gift because they know you're going to walk that way, and we like to look at footprints, so they'll leave you one.
Exactly.
I'll
get off of these. Here's one that's a dual signature. Like they have their own signatures. Here's my clan leader, RE is A. Here's his daughter, H. So
I've been seeing a lot of A's, and 3 of those pictures I saw A's at least, right?
Yeah, and here's an H too. That's his daughter. They combined it.
Oh my gosh.
It's a dual. And this was one for me. This is just like I got an instant knowing and mind speak when I seen it. 1 walks with 4. This is my journey with them that they showed me.
Wow.
And the circle, The circle too is big. Anyway, I don't want to take up. I
Wow.
didn't think maybe you'd seen any of this kind of stuff, so I thought
I have seen that kind of stuff before, actually.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for boring Mr. Beans, but I thought you might like that.
Oh, I appreciate it. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
they absolutely make their presence known for sure. And they do gift. That's very special. You are, that's something very special for you.
Well, we all have our own unique relationship with them, right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's and nobody's and I always say that it's not.
Mhm.
Oh, you got a feather. Very
At my
nice.
house, yeah. All my gifts come to my house.
Oh, wow.
Well, of course, because you don't ever leave the house.
Hey, neither
Where
do
else would
I.
they be?
I've had a lot of little gifts, so maybe I should make a little photo collage of the little gifts I've gotten. Rocks. I got a live turtle once. I got a live turtle, a dead mole. I got a live squirrel that fell out of a tree in front of me, like within 3 feet of me. You ever seen a squirrel fall out of a tree?
No, I have
It
not.
doesn't happen.
No.
This one just dropped like that. And then I got a dead squirrel that was just appeared in front of me right when I turned around. It was the same tree. I think there's a portal. I think this tree, 2 houses down from me.
Mhm.
I call it Archie because it arches all the way across the whole street. But I think there's a portal there because I've got like a lot of these gifts, these little animals and stuff. And once it was a live rat. Okay, and I'm walking along totally conscious, right? And there's my chest is right about here, and my belly's right there. So you just imagine from somewhere between my chest and my belly, about 5 feet away, as I'm walking, so I'm getting closer to it, 5 feet away, this out of thin air drops a live rat. Just drops onto the
Wow.
ground out of the thin air. And then the rat's looking around, they're trying to figure out where to hide. So he starts running right for me, which was hilarious because he was going to thought I was a tree or something. And then when I started to dance around, when a live rat runs at you, you start dancing around. And then it took off.
I would have done more than dancing around. I would have screamed.
Oh yeah, you just
And,
freak out
jumped
because
on the
nobody wants
tallest
a rat
cable.
running up your leg.
That's,
Anyway,
that's
that's
something.
That's my neighborhood. But this is out over years and years. I've been this doesn't happen every day.
That's something Mike Patterson's experienced too. Marbles dropping out of the sky. I've experienced stuff dropping out of the sky in front of us. You have.
Yeah, you know what? I
Oh,
actually
that's
did a podcast with Mike Patterson on Journey to Truth about a month ago, I guess. It's been a little while, but he has some very interesting stories. Very interesting. They come into his house.
I've known Mike a long time, and it's all legit. I used to call him on the phone about stuff, and it's
yeah?
legit. He'd be telling me, some marbles turned up here, there. It's the
Yeah.
same thing,
It is. Yeah. Your stories were all reminding me of his story. So that's
A lot of
pretty
similarities, yeah. A lot of similarities. I think the best thing they ever gifted me was these 3 gift rocks.
Yeah, those rocks. Tell them about those rocks. That was a nice story.
It's too big a story, isn't it? You really want me to tell you that whole story? Do you really want that story? It's pretty complicated.
Yeah, it does. It does takes a good 20 minutes to tell it.
Not really. It takes 10 minutes or so, and it's like anyway. I'll send you a video or something of it. I made a video of the story from my YouTube channel. It's better that way. I've told this story many times.
Oh yeah.
But
Send me the
basically,
video.
it was like a lot of connection to it, connecting people in. It was also a lot of mind speak. It was just incredible.
Yeah.
What's your take on a dog man? What's your take on that?
On mine? Oh, well, I actually remote viewed the dog man.
How'd it go?
It was rough. It was very rough.
Really?
Well, for my remote viewing show, I remote viewed the Beast of Land Between the Lakes in Kentucky. And
that's pretty rough. Yeah.
there was allegedly a family who had been murdered by a dog man there. And there had been reports of the dog man from at least the 1960s, but actually before that. And my take on dog man is they're real for sure. And I think there's a whole bunch of different types of dogmen. Okay. And I think some of them are very violent and some of them may not be as violent. Okay. But there absolutely was a family that was murdered by a dogman, and it looked like a hyena. It was kind of like a hyena werewolf looking mix kind of thing. And it murdered not only that family, but is responsible for maiming and murdering several different families and people there. And it's all covered up by our government.
Wow.
Can you go into a little more details of any of the stories?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I started remote viewing it just to do like a touch and go, just to see like if this was actually real. Okay. Because there are all sorts of different reports about the dogman at the LBL. And right off the bat, I got absolutely, it was real. And I was sketching what I guess was a camper that these people had been in and the direction that the dogmen came in. And it wasn't just one, there were two of them, according to my data. And it tore body parts off of these people. And it was very gruesome. It was horrible. It actually affected me pretty badly that week, watching what happened there. It was bad.
Did the people have weapons? Were they?
I did. Okay. Well, I did get that there was, at some point, there was a gunshot that did go off there. Okay. Now I pulled myself out of that before I got too deep into it because it was so gruesome. But there was a man, a woman, a son, and a daughter, children, and they're about the age of my son.
Oh.
But it wasn't just that. I didn't just pick up on that one attack because I was looking for an attack in the 1980s of a family. I didn't have a name. I didn't have anything. I just had a general date, April 1982. And I was looking into it and I was picking up on multiple attacks, and it was couples and hikers and just, individuals that I guess they had gone missing. And, I was talking to,
were they all dogman related or were they just,
yes.
Okay.
The reason I asked is because, there's a lot of truth behind legends and everything, right? Mm-hmm. And, I assume that the werewolf is just another name for a dogman.
Yeah, it is.
And what the legends say, that you can't kill a werewolf unless you have a silver bullet or maybe some other things. Mm-hmm. So that's why I asked about the weapons. I was wondering if these people had shot at them and had no effect, or.
Yeah, I've heard stories of, there were reports that this dogman was found dead eventually, like it was dead in a tree or something like that. But that was from it. There was a lot of misinformation, and it was absolutely 100% a government cover up. Okay. And I was getting a little nervous because all these remote viewing targets I'm doing, it's all a bunch of government cover-ups. So I was expecting a knock at my door at some point because here I am uncovering that, all this stuff's real and it's all the government covering it up. But, after I did that target, I contacted, the head of the North American Dogman Project. Actually, Bob Wilson, the gentleman that you met who's on my team, he's the director of the Southeastern Region Dogman Project down here in Georgia and in the South. And, I've talked to them. I talked to the guy that's the head of the Dogman Project, the national one, and he ended up sending me some videos and, confessions of park rangers and people that work for the fishing game who actually witnessed a mauling of a couple that had been killed there. And
witnessed a mauling. That's pretty serious.
Yeah. It's bad. And a lot of my data coincided exactly with what the eyewitnesses had said happened to that family, secondhand witnesses and things like that. Because he sent me some videos and I sent him my data immediately. And I said, hey, this is what I got. And this is what those people are saying. And I didn't know anything about that, and so it was all confirmed. What's
the time frame of this? And is it still going on?
It was April 1982 when that happened. And yes, I actually was on, do you guys know who D.A. Roberts is? He's an author. He has a podcast. I was on his podcast a couple of weeks ago.
No, but.
And D.A. Roberts, he does dogman research. And he was saying that, I believe he said that 24 people go missing out of that park per year.
Wow.
24 per year. That's 2 a month go missing, never heard from again. And nobody doesn't there's nothing said about it.
Now, I hate to get graphic, but do the dogmen just kill these people, or are they actually eating them and stuff?
Yeah. Yes, they were eating them.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Well, there's
But-
some good ones out there too. There's some
Yeah.
good dogmen too. So I'll just put that out there.
Yeah. They're all different. It's just like us
And I
humans. There's
think
a
if you
wide
if you-
range.
I
Yeah.
think if you have a really good, kind, good relationship with the Sasquatch people, and that puts you in a different light. for the
Well, I
Sa-
think
for the
there's-
dogman people,
There's
too.
different kinds, and I believe that according to my data, there's some that are. I got the energy that these are they escaped from some kind of facility or something. I think there's more to it. I think that
There's absolutely more to it.
assassins and things like that. that they're-
Well, that's,
maybe they're
I think there's a
trained.
lot of Sasquatch that get abducted, and then there's a lot of dogmen that get abducted by the Black Ops people.
Yeah, they were definitely out for blood. These were bloodsuckers. There's a lot of stuff that I don't talk about on air because it's pretty gruesome. What I did was I started a Patreon page, and I put all of my raw remote viewing data on my Patreon. And so for like a super low membership, people can become a member and they can see all the data, and it includes all the really gruesome details of everything that I remote view. So.
But just to reiterate, did you say that they were firing weapons at them? Did they actually hit them with weapons?
I in my data, I got one lone gunshot. There was a gunshot at some point. I believe I don't know if the father shot it or the mother might have. I just got one gunshot during that attack, and I know the father and the son were attacked first, and their body parts were ripped off, and it was horrible. And then the beast went for the mom and the little girl and got inside their camper, and it was rough. It was very bad. And
Did you say 20 something people? And was this the land between the legs?
24
Or is that
a
some
year,
place in
according to
Georgia?
what
I
DA
want to move
said.
if it's
For how many years? Sorry, Beans.
That was in 1 year, this past year. He said in
Yeah, but
1 year.
for how many years are these people like
I don't
going
know.
missing?
I don't know. That's something that I can ask him. He's coming on my show in a couple.
Okay,
weeks,
so wait
I'll
a
ask
minute.
him.
Let's back up. You said that this kind of you got wind of it, or it kind of started in '84 around there when the first kind of.
That was.
thing.
I don't
And
think
so
that was
it's
the
been
first
happening
attack.
ever since.
Yeah, I don't think that was the first attack. I don't know how many attacks there have been, but there have been multiple for sure.
But it's ongoing. Wow.
Could be. I don't know. They've actually shut that part of the park down where people cannot camp there anymore. They deny it. You know, there's a lot of denial. And when you go there, like I know DA had gone there to do some research recently, and the people in that area, they don't want to talk about it. You start
Yeah.
talking about it, they kick you out of their businesses. They say, you need to get out of here right now.
Yeah,
I don't know what
I believe that totally.
I don't know what the arrangement is between like Sasquatch and Dogman or whatever, but I know from my experience, because of my connection with Sasquatch, if I go anywhere in the world, or at least anywhere that I've gone, I will be greeted by the Sasquatch there energetically. Even if they're not particularly friendly, they will acknowledge that you have a connection with them. Or so I'm just wondering, I guess that doesn't apply to these dogmen, obviously.
Well, okay. So what I picked up on with a lot of these dogman targets that I've looked into, it's all, and I also did the Portlock, Alaska case last week. And that is, if you've heard of that, it's a whole town was run off by a string of over 30 disappearances and deaths that were all blamed on a Bigfoot up in Alaska in Portlock. And actually, they just did a show about it on, it's called Alaska Killer Bigfoot or something like that, or Killer Alaska or something. And they talked about it there. And so I remote viewed it, and absolutely, there was actually a clan of Bigfoot up there, and people were overstepping their territory there. They had something that they considered a kill zone, and anyone who went past that line was fair game. they'd open up a cannery there, a fishery, a fishing cannery. I guess that's what you call it. And they were taking all these Bigfoot's resources, I guess, and they were getting tired of it. Now it's pretty rare. I don't hear about Bigfoots attacking. A lot of times when I've remote viewed something and it was blamed, an attack was blamed on a Bigfoot, they were used as a scapegoat. Okay. A lot of times Bigfoots are used as scapegoats for things that humans do. And I thought that was going to be my pattern.
The dark military is
yes.
vast. There's yes. military in almost every big state park, big national parks. There's underground military bases there, and there's yes. all kind of nefarious things going on there. That's a whole topic that probably should be left alone. But I just bring it up in general that the dark side of the government and the dark side of the secret space program is, you're talking about 200,000 kids a year gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not in parks. That's just overall. It was sex trafficking, human trafficking, off-world trafficking. It's and then who's good to blame that on? The Dogman, the SASQUATCH, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that's why I don't really trust that guy, the 411 guy. I don't trust him too much because it's anybody who does any research into this at all knows that the vast majority of people being gone are like either in the adrenochrome, child trafficking, or they're off-world trafficking. That's just, the numbers are huge and they've been around for a long time. When they say that business is bigger than the drug business, just think about how big that business must be.
Wow.
Yeah. Now we know that the Sasquatch and they can appear to us in whatever form or whatever that they want. So when you're remote viewing this incident of the attacks, is it possible? And I'm not defending them because I'm sure there are, they're people, there's good ones and bad ones, but is it possible that they were something else impersonating Sasquatch?
I don't know. I mean, from my data and what I was seeing.
What I'm saying is, would you energetically can you energetically pick up on the signature of Sasquatch? Would you know the difference energetically?
Yes, I would.
Okay,
absolutely.
That's important. That's
yes,
important.
And I was able to discern whether it was Dogman or Bigfoot. Dogman and Bigfoot have nothing to do with each other. They are genetically different. They are not the same species. And no. I've seen that repeatedly in my data from these targets that I've done. Yeah.
Except for the paranormal stuff that they can, some of that overlap.
Yeah. Well, it's like with the interdimensionality and things like that. They do share a lot of
portals,
but it's portals though.
And portals.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can decipher their energy, which I understand.
Yes.
Because I can decipher energy in my clans. They got personalities in their energy, right?
Yeah. Right.
Right. Okay. So on a general basis and in a general way, how would you describe the difference between the energy you feel from Sasquatch and Dogmen? Is one dark? Is one light? What's the difference in their energy signature?
No, I would not even describe either of them as being good or bad or positive or negative or anything like that. It's just the energy. It's hard to explain it. It's just, there's the big, what I call the Bigfoot energy, and then we got the Dogman. It's just, just like when I'm looking at people, you can feel their energies and stuff. So,
but is there any obvious?
Dogman definitely feels violent and predators. Okay, I guess that's a good word. Predatory. Okay, territorial. Well, Bigfoots are territorial too, though. Good and I don't think that anything is inherently good or bad. I just think that the Dogman, the beast that's in the LBL, which I believe are there today, by the way, I would not go in those woods alone, and I probably wouldn't go at all, to be honest with you. But there's something evil about those, and it was very evil. Okay, and I don't know. I just think it's a different breed. There's something really bad about them. So
yeah, and it's just obvious in the energy. Personally, I feel when I'm in my Sasquatch territory, I've personally been rescued by them a few times. So I do
Yeah.
trust them that they are watching out for me and taking care of me.
Absolutely.
I mean, like a couple really dramatic examples of that, but I'm not going to get into it. But so, you know, if they're connected to you and they love you, they will watch you. They'll take care of you. They'll,
Yeah,
you know, they become like family.
for sure.
At least the ones
Yeah.
I know, you know, the guys I know.
Yeah, the ones that we've ever interacted with, any of them that have been in our environment in the vicinity where we're doing our research, they have been very not, you know, just there and kind of playing around and just letting us know they're there and pretending like they're other animals and making sounds that start off sounding like a cow or a wolf or something, and then an owl, and then they start laughing, and you know, it's just really fun. I mean, you know, I have so much fun when I go out in the woods and experience them, and it's just exhilarating, and it's a spiritual experience, and I love it. And I just, you know, I can't say it's for everyone, okay, but I am extremely inoculated to all of this, and you know, it's just like I said, part of my journey, and I'm glad that I've gotten to experience this lifetime. So,
You're talking at conventions and stuff and
mhm.
putting yourself out there and whatever, which is good. Now, do you talk at like just the regular, like the old meat and potato Sasquatch conventions too, or are they all in the ilk of supernatural and open-minded people?
Yeah, you know,
Talk at both?
I haven't really spoken to anything except for the Camp Disclosure and then at the Bigfoot conference in Georgia in person. What I do is mostly online. And so, and I have my shows, and I have a YouTube channel where, you know, I do interviews with my teammates, and I do a lot of spiritual guidance videos and things like that. But, yeah, I've only been in person in 2 different places. Now, Camp Disclosure was very open-minded people, and you know, into the ETs, into the alien, into the, you know, Sasquatch and all that stuff.
Right.
Now, the Bigfoot crowd, when you go to a conference like that, it could be, there could be a little more pushback when it comes to the what people call the woo, you know, all of the spiritual side of it, you know, if you want to call it
Right.
that, and the interdimensionality and stuff. Now, I was very upfront and open about all of that, and I talked about it, and everybody that I talked to loved it. They were like, yeah, you know, people said I've experienced that too. So I didn't get no one said that to my face, at least. Nobody said, ooh, she's weird. So I didn't get made fun of to my face. So I don't know, maybe after people left, or they were whispering it under their breath, but yeah, I was, you know, the majority of people that were there were speaking about this with me. And even you guys probably know Robin Haynes McCrae. She was there speaking with me.
Yeah.
She was one of the speakers as well.
Yes,
And she and I have similar stories and experiences. So it was interesting, and it was fun. And I felt like I was at home with like-minded people there.
Okay. Yeah. I just wondered how the meat and potatoes, like the, you know, length of the stride and, you know, track guys and all that felt about it. But
yeah, well, we have all that. Yeah, well, we have all that too. And I had a few of my teammates were there too. And we actually have, hold on, let me grab this. Oh, I hope I don't fall out. So my team actually has made a tracking video. Okay, this is tracking #1 from Sasquatch Field Research Series. And so my tracker, you know, we're all trained in tracking. I'm a tracker, human and animal. Okay. And so we had videos. I mean, I was selling my videos there. I mean, for anyone who still has a DVD player, you know, we had DVDs there. But yeah, if people want to talk tracking, I'll talk tracking. You know, they want to talk, you know, the primate in the woods, I'll talk the primate in the woods. That's fine. You know, I'm very versatile. I'm not stuck in my ways of just being like, oh, you know, they're interdimensional. And this, I am experienced with all of it. Okay. So, I do not back down from a conversation with anyone. I appreciate everyone's outlook on stuff.
Is anybody in your team able to track almost like psychically? Like, I mean, I've had experiences where I've been out, I could see their tracks energetically. I could even see them like kind of walking. It was hard to describe.
It's like spirit tracking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys do any of that?
Oh yeah. I mean, hey, like I said, I have a very diverse, interesting, amazing team of a lot of really switched on humans.
What is spirit tracking then? Describe it, because
spirit tracking is what the Native Americans
I experienced it, but I don't know. I just know it's weird.
It's exactly what you just described. That's what you just described. It's called spirit tracking. The Native Americans used to do it.
Yeah, you can
actually still do it. Everybody still does it.
Spiritually, like
yeah,
as they're going along. Yeah, or
called
energetically, I should say, not spiritually, more energetically.
Some people can see it like a white ribbon.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a tracking school. I think it takes 5 years to go through there, but
or you can get one of our tracking videos from Enigma Research Group.
There you go. There you go. It was a segue.
There's some good information in that thing. So if anybody wants one, y'all hit me up on my the Cryptid Huntress. Just send me a message on.
I wonder where the heck I would find an old. It's a DVD, right?
I don't have a DVD player anymore, but I have the videos. So if anybody has a DVD player, I got videos. We need to convert those or something, because there's a lot, or we'll figure it out.
Excellent. So what's the big stuff you guys are working on now that you're all excited about at your team?
Well, you know what? We've got some trips planned to the woods. Okay. And, I personally am going to be starting a new gig where I'm going to be doing a show about Sasquatch and cryptids, every Saturday and Sunday night on Spaced Out Radio. So I personally am going to have, and Friday nights I do my remote viewing show. So I'm not going to have any time in the woods in the weekends for the next, I don't know how long, but as far as our team goes, we are just going to continue the research that we're doing, and maybe bring a couple of new fresh minds on board at some point, and just continue what we're doing. We have a lot of stuff, a lot of questions that are still unanswered as far as, the ET connection, the portals, and, the areas that we research. So just in general, we've just got, ongoing research.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that sometimes these answers are just kind of given to you, that is almost independent of the research? It's just like, it's almost like presented to you like, oh geez, I wonder if it's like this, and then you look and there's an answer kind of thing. That's what I experience a lot. Are they working with you like that? Are they giving you little breadcrumb trails of clues and stuff?
I don't know. I anytime I get an idea about something, I like to learn as much as I can about everything, and experience as much as I can. And I can't say it's a Sasquatch giving me the answers or like an alien or anything like that. I mean, I just get downloads sometimes.
Right.
And so I can't say where that comes from other than source or, my ancestors or somebody. I don't know. I think it's just downloads of information, and I just run with it. I actually made the connection not too long ago of the Bigfoot language and light language, and it may not have anything to do with the other, but I thought it did. I've heard a connection, and so I did an entire show about it, and I brought the Ron Moorhead Sierra sounds in, and I studied that and the Cherokee language, and the work of R. Scott Nelson with his phonemes and all the Bigfoot language that he deciphered. And I brought my friend Joel on, who taught me interdimensional Reiki healing, and he speaks light language. And we had a big discussion about the connection between light language and Bigfoot language. I don't think anybody's ever done that before, but I did, because I felt there might be a connection. And what's the point in researching if you just don't put stuff out there? It may not make sense now, but maybe down the road it will.
When I get downloads too, so I'm just wondering how you would describe them. Do you ever feel like when you get them, like you just have a knowing and you don't even know why you know, but I just know?
Yes, every day.
Is that one of your experiences with downloads?
All the time.
Yes. Another thing is it feels like there's a bunch of vast information being put into a library somewhere or something, and then when you need it, it's kind of there. It may not be all the facts and figures and all the things, but it's there. kind of stuff.
And it's all how you use it and how, if you utilize it and put it out there. I mean, this information is being given to us for a reason.
Right.
And so we might as well put it out there and see what sticks. Okay. So to speak, I guess. There's no point in, if I have an idea that comes across, I'm like, I'm just going to put it out there, and I might know a little bit about one thing, but there's going to be somebody out there who's going to know a little bit about something else. And we can just put our ideas together, and maybe we can start solving some of these mysteries. That's
right.
the way I look at it.
Yeah. Like on this show, for instance, when we start talking about some of the incredible experiences we had, it rings a bell with other people who have had the same thing, and it verifies what they experienced, and it makes it real for everybody, right? Because, these things are too bizarre to make up.
Right.
These are real experiences. And when you have multiple people that you're talking to having the same experiences, it gives it more validity.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
In remote viewing, there's a remote viewing, but then there's something that I've heard that talk about remote influencing, and I'm not really sure what that's all about. But then I was listening to that guy, Courtney Brown, he was talking about that his remote viewers from time to time experience something called neural engagement. And neural engagement is where you can actually go into somebody who you're remote viewing, you can go into their mind and plant feelings or ideas or you're influencing their actual mind. And when they look deeper into it, they saw that there's levels of this going on, and has been going on with the dark, Nazi kind of government. Is the Draco kind of bad guys are masters of this neural engagement, and they can control people by what they think and what they feel is important or what they do, right? Because of some kind of an an implanted or an influence, so, and when you take that bit of information and then you look at the history of the UFO community, right? The UFO phenomena, and the UFO people have been in charge of the UFO story from the beginning. They were landing, and everybody wanted the prints, and they wanted photos, and they did all this kind of stuff. And then they had this stuff of that angel hair coming out of them, and then they did crop circles in it, right? And just went on and on. And crafts evolved from these tin can looking things to now they're kind of like these amorphous big things that just morph in and out. And it's just evolved and evolved and evolved. And pretty much that the real researchers of the UFO community, they said why the UFOs have lights on them, because they want to be seen. They don't have to have lights on them, and you'd never see them. So, and that leads me to think that there's the same kind of a thing is going on in the Sasquatch community. That the Sasquatch people are profoundly connected to people like Brian and me and you and a bunch and millions of people, and they can poke your feelings. They can do a podcast or go do this research or tell this story, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's Steve Dahl over there at the what do you call it? The How to Hunt.
Learn to Hunt.
Thousands of people, just want to tell their story, right? And to me, when I see this, I think there's this neural engagement going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's all about mind control in a lot of ways too. And remote viewing is one of the things I love about remote viewing is it's all about mind control, and it's not about me controlling other people's minds. It's about me controlling my mind. And I think that's one of the number one things when you're going out in the woods and doing research. You have to be able to control your mind, because things get really scary really fast for the normal person, but absolutely. I'm sure there are ways that you can control other people's minds with that way. I mean, and look how people are programmed every day just by their televisions and their phones and their computers. And mind control is real. And there's so many people that are mind control. We're all mind controlled in some way, programmed, and I think what we're doing right now, though, just talking about the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch connection with the ETs and all this stuff, it's breaking people out of those programs, that's why it's important.
Well, just look at how many people want to tell their story, or how many people want to know. Like if that was, like to me, like why aren't people out doing research on badgers? Badgers are kind of a wild animal. They're scary, you know what I mean? And they're very elusive. It's very hard to find a badger. Why aren't people out doing research on badgers? No, it's Sasquatch and Dogman, right? Because there's some kind of an implant, there's some kind of an urge or something important, some kind of a shift that happened in people's minds where this was not on the radar, and then boom, it's on their radar, and then it's boom, it changes their life, their whole destiny. Some people get divorced because the husband's so into the Sasquatch people that he neglects his family and job. And you see what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying. This is that neural engagement kind of business going on. It's beyond just a fascination as a hobby or being a naturalist. There's something else going on there.
Yeah. There is. Now, you guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up soon because I have another show I have to jump on here, and I have to go feed my son and put him to bed beforehand.
Okay. Tell everybody all your good locations and where to find you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, everybody can find me I have a website. It's called thecryptidhuntress.com. I have a YouTube channel called The Cryptid Huntress, and I have I have a show every Friday night with the guys from Texas Front Porch, who are Bigfooters out of Texas and Michigan. And I do a show called Remote Viewing Investigations with Jessica, where I remote view, paranormal stuff and the mysteries of the world, which is really fun. And now every Saturday and Sunday night, I will have a show on Spaced Out Radio talking about Sasquatch and cryptids.
Is that 4 different shows you have?
It's going to be, I had another show on KGRA, but you can find that in the archives now. But I'll have 3 shows a week, 2 different channels. And then I have my YouTube channel, which I do stuff there independently. So, yeah.
On your, and I'm not trying to, I know you have to go, but on your remote viewing show, you take requests?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always
because I've got a request.
Yes. Tell me.
I want to find out who Jack the Ripper and who who's that other guy from San Francisco? The Zodiac.
Oh, scary.
Who is Zodiac and who was Jack the Ripper? So
okay, well, you would get along with Tex from Texas Front Porch. He's always wanting me to remote view serial killers.
Well, I just think it's but I mean, it's not a good thing. But the romanticism of Jack the Ripper in a sadistic bad way. I mean that the legend and I just love to see you remote view that. And of course, the same thing with the Zodiac, right? Like these guys who never get caught, just kind of, who are they?
It's interesting. Well, hey, the first time I do a serial killer, I will take one of your requests. I will, I promise.
Yeah, absolutely. And that one I want to see because that kind of stuff interests me. Yeah.
It was pure pleasure having you on because, like I said, you are on the cutting edge. This is where we're going. And you can't just look at Sasquatch. You got to look outside of Sasquatch. Yes. You got to look at the whole field. You got to look at the paranormal. You got to look at what they call the woo. You got to look at all that,
The woo. I just learned that word. I didn't know people called what I do the woo.
It's actually a Sasquatch word.
Is it? Well, I just started hearing it.
It means exactly what we call it. All the paranormal, the strange stuff. They call it
woo. Somebody said I was too woo one day, and I was like, "Well, what does that even mean?"
that means that you're.
I think it's a badge of
honor. You're open and you're connected. That's what it means.
Thank you. I took it as a compliment. Yeah. Whoever was trying to be mean.
That's the whole world is woo. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to tell you about the ETs coming down and telling my friend Ray Hernandez that look, this is all connected, and this is and who was it? I think it was Nikola Tesla said, if you spend 1 year investigating the immaterial world, you're going to learn more than 1,000 years of studying regular physics, right? It's all the invisible world. That's where it's at.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jessica, so much. And I just wanted to say that you are doing good work. You're
Thank
opening
you.
people's hearts. You're opening their minds. You're raising their vibrations by talking about this stuff without fear.
Thank you.
Sasquatch just confirmed that. They're very happy with that. I'm just getting that energy nudge.
Thank
So
you.
you're doing good work.
You're on the Sasquatch paranormal team.
You're on the
Yes,
Sasquatch train.
thank you. I am.
Get
You know,
on
I'm
the
team
boat,
Sasquatch.
Join in. Join the love train.
Hey, I'm on it. I'm on the woo train.
Oh, have you ever had a love zap?
I have never been zapped, but some guys on my team have been zapped.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no,
That's
I'm talking about a love zap because that's one of the things that they can do.
I have not been zapped.
I had
yet.
one where they gave me the big universal knowing was a love zap. It was like I was weeping. Like I'll talk,
really?
it was just absolutely it's like a epiphany. It's like an all knowing. It's like all connected. Like it was just beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of different ways they can zap you. They can also put you on the ground where you're crawling around like or walking through a force field or something. Like
I've heard. Well, I've walked into an energetic brick wall before, but I wouldn't consider that being zapped though, but because I just could not walk any further. It was almost like I could not move further.
Yes,
ahead of me. Yeah,
exactly. We've had the same thing. Or sometimes it's just oh man, like you can, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was there. I had a dream of that one night.
Yeah.
With the munchkins.
Okay. Anyway, we could go on and on and on. And I know you want to go. I could see you had ants in your pants about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. No, I was thinking. My son's running around outside. I was afraid he was going to bust into the room.
What is wrong with these guys?
Well, I've got my security cameras on my phone. I've been trying to watch him on my security camera while I've been on the interview tonight. So.
All right. Thank you, Jessica.
It's time to put him to bed.
We'll have you back sometime. And
thank you. I would love to have you guys on my show. Yeah. You guys come to my show.
That'd be fun.
Thank you.
Anytime you want, you get. Although I think we told you all of our good stuff. Oh, except I didn't tell my story. I didn't tell my story about talking. Yes, you did.
I didn't tell any of my good stuff. This guy's got.
I didn't tell you about
plenty of stories. I'm not.
I didn't tell you about me talking to a rock. I didn't tell you about me. They had me talk to a rock for 3 hours.
Yeah, we'll bring that up on the show. Yeah, that I take offense with that I told.
Save the stories for when I have you guys on my show or when I come back.
Can you share pictures and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Because my stories are way more compelling when I can share the pictures too.
Okay.
Even though I said I was not going to be doing interviews anymore, I guess I'm a hypocrite because maybe I will. Well,
I would love to have you. Hey, Spaced Out Radio is the best. I'm so excited to be going there and it's going to be so much fun. I would love to have you guys. Please come on. I will schedule you guys. I'm glad. I feel like we're friends now. So
I'll even
we've got a lot in common.
Board. Spaced Out Radio.
Yeah.
Spaced Out. Yeah, whatever.
It's going to be fun. We'll
turn it into something big.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful evening and thank you so much for having me on. And I had a lot of fun. All right.
Yeah, your weirdness is wonderful.
Thank you. Wonderfully weird.
This is a Woo Safe podcast.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I feel it. I feel good. I was very comfortable talking about this with y'all. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jessica. We will talk to you soon. Thanks, Mr. Bean, for being you. And thanks for everybody for watching.
If you ever have any earth-shaking revelations from the other world.
Yes. And y'all tune into my remote viewing show tomorrow night or on Fridays.
Send us a link.
I will. I'll send it.
Yeah, send the link and I'm going to put in the question.
Bean show.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
I want to know, Jack the Ripper or the Zodiac? One of those two, man. We got to solve that mystery.
All right. We'll look into it. Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Time's already gone. We're
all right. I'm gonna click off. It was so nice meeting you.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. Bye. Have a good evening.
I love you so. Don't you know? I want coming down. Dig it nice on. Hot it high, hot it high, hot it high, high. For the tummy, oh my, love a big old thing of pork and beef. Goody, 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 goody. Love it, love it, love it. In the tummy, love baby, love high, love ooh, love why. I love me some bowling rain. Don't you know you gotta need that feed, that feed. You got to have some off and bling. Bowling rain. I'm gonna holla bowling rain. Yo, mashed potato, oh. Have it now, don't wait for later. Hot it high. Come and get your health and come see me see. Come on back and hot it high. Do it all again, we'll see. I love you so.